Hi, and welcome to Thursday with a Friend. My name is Lawrence, Larry, Punk, whatever you want to call me. There's so many words you could. And today, my special guest, Cocoasmooth the Casual Collector. How are you doing? And thank you for joining.
Thanks for having me, brother. I'm doing swell.
Now, this is, I've been excited. Like, you've come onto the scene with the toys. I basically caught you because of weapons. And a matter of fact, the first thing that I remember seeing was the slings for the rifles, which I absolutely loved.
I remember.
Yeah, they're
I wanted to give credit to the person who I saw that from. It was Ed's channel, Ed 209 or two. That guy.
Yeah.
I was just getting into the hobby, and I saw him have slings. I was like, oh man, I got him myself too. And I was like, I better review and co-sign off it, but I forgot his name, so I forgot to properly credit him in the beginning. So
it happens. I'm giving you credit because Ed 209 doesn't come in here too often. No, he's doing a lot of stuff too. I mentioned backstage, like, you're doing what I should have kept my mouth shut about, and that is the whole gridiron thing. And Ed 209, I see he's doing it. I know you're doing it. You do a lot of the 3D printed weapons that you get from people, obviously from Gridiron. And it was that secret that I should not have let out. But I try not to gatekeep anything. Those videos do wonderfully, especially once you get in that algorithm. So Gridiron has been a blessing to me, along with some of the other ones that I'm doing now. And you'll see more coming. But this is about this guy over here. So let me ask you, where does the name Cocoasmooth the Casual Collector come from?
All right. So back in my Army days, if anyone who's ever been in the military, in the Army, there was always a bad element of people, like the guys who always got away with doing wrong stuff all the time, but they were too popular that you couldn't do nothing to them. You know what I'm saying? They're just too popular. They're like the unit thugs, if you will. Like, you always have to have them, because no matter how bad they were, you kind of needed them. And what happened was,
are you talking about Bobby B right now?
But anyone in the Army knows, especially because at the time I was a lieutenant in the Army, and I was on my way towards Iraq when this was happening. We were training in I don't want to get too specific, but anyway, I was out training, and what happened was, the unit, those unit thugs noticed that I was pretty popular with a certain group of ladies. Okay. And as I was walking by, they were saying, there goes Cocoasmooth walking by. So I went over there and went up to them and go, what exactly do you mean by that, Private? Like, we see you, sir, in class looking like Clark Kent with these BCGs looking like you have no game. But then we see you in the club, and the ladies in the, and from there I just kind of ran with it. I know that they were trolling me, but at the same time I just ran with it. I was like, you know what, I'll go with this.
Okay, so but when someone gives you a name, and if they're trying to troll you and you take ownership of it, it takes that all away from them.
That was the point.
Like, yeah, like now it's like, well, son of a bitch, we thought we were getting this guy, and here he is. He's taking ownership of it. Now, the casual collector, you say that very often. Now, is that what you just consider yourself, a casual collector?
The reason why I say it is it's a double-edged situation. If you know, obviously you know the way the fandom is in general.
I have no idea. I've never been in the middle of any drama.
Right. And so I just say it off the bat that I don't know anything. So I'm casual. And I let it off, if I start off that I'm casual, nobody could if I said I was the hardcore collector, people like, oh yeah, well, how hardcore are you really, bro? We're gonna test your knowledge. And I'm like, So if you say that you're a casual, then they're like, oh, okay, he's a casual. What do you know? What does he know about anything? So that's why I put it that way.
I feel like if I did that, I'd still get yelled at because I can tell people like I'm not a gun aficionado, and the next thing I know, they're blasting me for not knowing the proper gun. I'm like, it's a toy, man. Like, I'm sorry, this is a toy. All right, it is not a real AK-47. That's not an AK-47. That's an AK-74. I'm like, all right, thank you.
I wouldn't know either. It makes me sad because I'm like, you think that because I was in the Army, I'd know more about that stuff, but dude,
well, this I know is an AK-47 because it came from Top Fun Toys, and he marks all of them what they are, and he is really good at what he does.
Yes, he is. John.
Yeah, he seems like a really nice guy. I've been chatting with him a lot, all because of Krusty Old Crow. So quickly, we have 27 people in here right now. Hit that like button. Before we get started, let's say hi to everyone that is here, that's tuning in to check out Coco. And in the description, there are links to his channel, his YouTube and Instagram. So while we're going through everyone saying hi, please shoot on over there and give him a like if you haven't already. So right off the bat, where is it at here?
Welcome to the Creamery.
We have Clint Jorgensen, who has become a channel member. We have Wraith Mace, who says, I am really early. Do I get a cookie? Nope, cookies are saved for when Travis Moody does something good. Krusty Old Crow is in the house. We have a Dr. Gone, who is here. Johnny Reno, GI Bro, who has the best arms in the community, and just take my word for it. Beardy McBeardison is here. Same Time Toys. Matthew Matson, my moderator. Woodman29. David R is here. Carbs and Curbs. We have Sarge and Reds and Collectibles, but this is Red. This is really the brains behind that toy store. Don't let John tell you anything different. Plastic Fantastic. Did I say Krusty Old Crow, who is here? Len. I'm not going to try and say that last name. Checkpoint Alpha, who I don't think I've ever seen you in here before, but I know you follow me on Instagram. I follow you, so great to have you here. Jay Astro, who is here. Thanos Copter, who, if you missed yesterday and his Instagram, well, just have a strong stomach. Toy binging. I'm looking at gun. I was trying to say toy binging, but I'm looking at Gun Bunny's name. So Gun Bunny Customs is here. We have a Blitz 0075. Gun Bunny Customs over here too. We have Jarkeld. Now, evening, everyone. Just listening in the background while I'm working on some stuff. I have never seen you here before. So thank you for joining. Hopefully you're here because you saw our boy Cocoasmooth here. Let everyone know that he was going to be on. Same with Blitz. I think Blitz I've seen before. Matthew Matson will give me a rundown of everyone that I was wrong about. 3-star draws here. And then Cobra Ninja 109. I don't think that I've seen you, so thank you for joining. All right. So let's just get into this. Cocoasmooth. Can I ask you what your real name is, or do you not want people to know?
Yeah, my name's Yule. Named after Yul Brynner, Y-U-L. I don't know how many people have ever met anyone in real life with that name, but I tell you, it's got me in trouble many times.
Really?
Yes, I almost got dumped in 2010 because of my name, or like 2008 because of my name.
Because
I'll tell you why. Yes, because in 2007 a song came out. I was no longer Lieutenant Eblamo when this song came out. It was everywhere. Once that Soldier Boy song came out, everyone that song was going yo everywhere, and I was just like, and they're dancing and doing Superman that hoe all day. I'm just like, oh no.
I know nothing about modern songs.
Music.
I don't listen to modern music. I listen to punk. I listen to some metal, but I don't listen to anything new. Sometimes I catch things from it. So I know what Soldier Boy is. So You'll be in on the Soldier Boy thing.
Crank that Soldier Boy. the song it would start with "You" really loud, and what happened was my girlfriend at the time was getting tired of people whenever they saw me saying it and dancing to that damn song, and she's like, "Oh my god, this is disgusting." I bet.
So not only is your name Yule, but it's also Soldier Boy, which you were a soldier because you said you were in the army, right?
Yeah.
So it just fits you perfect.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that the name just happened. The singer just happened to be named Soldier Boy. But yeah.
Oh, I know, but I'm just saying like that. That's awesome. Awesome. And then we have GSG Joe, first time new to the scene. Well, welcome, and I hope you get to enjoy it, and I hope you like everything you got going on here. And Todd C, nice to have you here. All right, so you all right? Like, don't like.
No, that joke, that comment, that guy said, "Superman that hoe." That's pretty funny.
Oh, you never Superman that hoe. Dude, you.
You don't want to know. But
yeah,
I'm sure
you are talking to the wrong person. All right, like again, I listen to punk rock. I listen to 80s music. I listen to metal. The only stations that I have programmed in my car are the sports radio station, and I now have the oldies station, which now, sadly enough, oldies are 90s and 80s music.
Oh yeah.
I had a car for 13 years that had 2 FM stations set. One was the sports radio station, and the other one was the oldies that my dad used to listen to, and that was the only thing that I ever had set. And I had it for I think 12 years before I gave it to maybe I had it like 11 years before I gave it to my daughter. She just got rid of it. The '08 Avenger. She just got rid of it when she moved to California. And my other moderator is here, Action Figs, but he is at a Bills party, even though he doesn't like football, but there's free food. All right. So do you mind me asking how old you are?
46.
Okay.
I was 78. Year of the horse.
Year of the horse. So you're in our age range. Sometimes we get people that are like, if I hear someone's in like 40, they seem young to me. When it's someone like Bobby B, who's in his early 30s, you're like, holy crap. Like, how do you even know what G.I. Joe is? But G.I. Joe was around for, and even in O-ring form during the 2000s and everything. So, now, where did you grow up at? Where were you born and grow up at?
I was a Navy brat. I grew up everywhere.
Okay.
I was born in California, but because my dad is in the Navy, we moved to the Philippines, where I spent my first 5 years of life. Then after that, moved back to California. And while I was born in California, I was raised the first 5 years in the Philippines. I experienced what's called the immigrant experience, where English wasn't exactly my first language. And so I had to go to ESL, right? Yeah, English as a second language. I didn't know I knew how to speak English, but I wasn't good at it. I definitely had the Filipino.
Okay, so
the Filipino accent.
In what language do you speak?
English now, but at the time it was Tagalog. Yes.
Yeah, you mean tag-along?
Yes.
I'm like, that is not a real language. That is a Girl Scout cookie. All right. Because isn't it spelled tag-along? I'm like, that's not real. I'm like, you're joking, right? I'm like, no, this is language. I'm like, no. That is a Girl Scout cookie.
I love it. It's one of my favorites. I love Tagalogs and Samoas, but they call it Caramel Delights now, I think.
Yeah, they don't want to insult anyone in the cookie. There's Girl Scouts that sell their cookies. They don't want to insult someone when they're like Samoa, man.
Right.
I'm not buying that. That's insulting to us.
After that, we moved to Hawaii for a year. Now, I would have been in Hawaii for a lot longer, but the problem was my dad's ship got in a real bad wreck. The USS Jason got in a bad accident, and so the ship was forced to go back to San Diego, where we were, staying at, and from there I stayed for most of my elementary years, and then moved to South Korea in my middle school years, 2 years, and after that, moved to Japan and graduated high school there. Yeah, I love it. And then after that, yeah,
you've really been all over
the place, brother. I really have. then moved back to California to attend UC Santa Barbara, where I went to go to college, and then after that joined the Army, then went everywhere, then came back to California, San Diego specifically.
Man, all right, quick. I want to say hi to, with all faults, I know I've never seen this name in here before, so thank you for joining. Matthew, please don't send me a list of like, this guy's been in here all the time and you totally missed up. Thank you for joining. Hey, thank you to all the new people or people even just saying hi. I definitely appreciate it. And it's good for Yule here. I just like the name. Like there's something cool
everybody does.
Yule. Like I said, like I've never met anyone until just now that's had that name in real life. And again, the only other Yule that I can think of is when you were named after. So, are I think your parents were together. Are they still together?
Yes.
Right. So do you have other siblings?
I have a sister. Yes. I'm the older brother.
How much older?
2 years.
Okay. So did you still kind of have a built-in play friend? I mean, I know it's different types of toys when you're growing up with a girl, but did she play with those types of things?
She definitely borrowed He-Man to hang out with Barbie.
It's like a Chihuahua and a pit bull trying to get together.
I'd have to say that, as much as I didn't, when I was a kid, as much as I didn't like watching Gem and all the other girly cartoons at the time, when I was younger.
Oh, I know.
As I grew up, I started to appreciate that my sister did kind of make me watch it with her when it was her turn to watch television too. So
I have a fascination for the Care Bears. I think everyone knows it, right? No matter like when I met my ex, her daughter, I remember like the Care Bears had come out, but she was amazed that she was like, "How do you know this?" I'm like, "They live in Caroline and they have the Care Bear cousins," and she's like, "How?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know. I watched the Care Bears. Like it was on at some point and you watched it." Gem, I think Gem was the one that most boys could get away with and not feel ashamed of. It felt like a boy cartoon trapped in with girls.
I believe it, because if you think about it, when it came out, it was sandwiched between robotics and Bigfoot. So the television show. So kind of,
Let's say hi to Woody 222 is here, and Plastic Skulls. And Toy Binging says, so many Filipino Navy brats in San Diego. They were all in Murphy Canyon near Qualcomm Stadium. Is that where you were at?
Yep. San Diego's Little Filipino. Yep. That's pretty much, exactly what he says. I'm the typical Filipino Gen X brat, So
Red, I am not a furry at all. We got to see those people. I'm using those people at PowerCon, and it was an interesting bunch. We'll just say that. All right, so you and obviously your sister, you guys moved around, got to play with different things or different areas. So I can't even get into like. It's got to be hard to keep friends, obviously, growing up from base to base, and not even base to base, from country to country. Mm-hmm. So. What, like, do you remember like the first toys that you played with? I know a lot of, in our age, it's a lot of people with the Matchbox, and adventure people. Obviously, Star Wars usually comes in. Do you remember like the first toys that you had playing with?
It's funny you should say that, because even though when I was a kid, the first toy I wanted, because I saw it in commercial, was He-Man. I wanted it, but my parents bought me everything but. So Tron, the Tron action figure, and that's one of my first action figures, and the Adventure Time, or the space one. As a matter of fact, BBTS is the Four Horsemen Cosmic Legions. Yes. They're doing one of them, the black space based on that's. I'll never forget it. I pre-ordered that just because that was the second fig that I've ever owned in my entire life, and I used to have him fight, Luke and Darth Vader, because he was, an action figure of the same scale.
Yeah.
So yeah.
17 says, do they still make Filipinos jokes in the Navy?
All the time. The mafia is strong still to this day.
Yeah, I don't know. Do jokes ever stop about people? And Firefly, who I don't believe that I have ever seen in here. Whoa, you both are my favorite. Keep it up. I don't know what that says.
He's Pinoy too. He's got to be. He's saying things into God.
He's so excited. So anyway, wait, hold on. So Sarah read. She said, "What was it like being the new kid?"
Ooh, I gotta tell you, the awesome thing about being the new kid sometimes is that you get to reinvent yourself. You know what I mean? You didn't have to be who you were before. Like if you were a loser before, you could find, all the mistakes you made from being a loser back then. You can try not to be known for that where you go next as a kid. So
I grew up in the exact same spot. I live 3 miles from where I grew up now. So luckily I liked myself.
Yeah.
I didn't have to reinvent myself. All right, so hold on. Lost my train of thought here. All right, so you remember He-Man was like the first thing you said you talked about what else you had, but so what was the first love of toy? Like what was the first toys that you fell in love with?
Easily Masters of the Universe. That was my absolute favorite thing. When you saw the art at the 8-back, I just could not stop looking at it.
The art is still the art that they do now. It's second to none. I'm not saying there's not stuff as good, but there's nothing that's better. Like even if you don't like the origin stuff, when you look at that art, you're like, and you can find the guy on Instagram that's doing it. You're like, this is just awesome. Like this is done so well. All the little Easter eggs, which make it even better. I mean, Easter eggs, now that we know what Easter eggs are, we didn't know what they were back in the day. And now they put them in there because they're going to give you those figures. Back in the day, it was like, we just drew a character and you're like, why didn't we ever get that guy?
Yeah.
Because you made a comment about being a retired Motu. And then
collector. Yes.
Yeah, and then some asshole made some comment about, you nerds are so funny. And I was like,
yeah, I'm a retired classics collector or He-Man collector because after the classics line died, I could not bring myself to buy it anymore. I was just so fatigued from buying He-Man all over. I didn't want to rebuy the entire line again.
Oh, so you got into G.I. Joe. Good job.
Yeah.
All they do is repaint.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't mind that formula, but I was just over it at that point. If you remember when Classics was done, it was done in 2008. And so for a good 10 years, there were subscription services where I was paying all kinds of money to, and the fear of the line being canceled and a bunch of other stuff, it just kind of ate at the fiber of my being as a collector in that situation. So I was like, I was done.
Well, I didn't collect. I wasn't collecting anything like that during that time. I wasn't really collecting anything because I was coming out of a relationship, going into the relationship with Susan, my kid's parent and my kid's mother, and then having kids. It's like, oh boy, like there's your money. So. Now Thanos asked, you haven't picked up any Masterverse to go with your classics?
You know what? The only one I ended up picking up was Sunman, because I always wanted a representation of Sunman. I was hoping they made him in classics format, but I didn't realize how much bigger he was than the rest of the figures. So I wish they kind of made him a little shorter because Sunman's huge. He towers over.
Now, do you still have all your classics, or did you get rid of them?
I do. I have doubles. I've opened and sealed. That's how much love I had for that gosh dang line.
Now, do you have the whole line?
I do.
We're kind of jumping ahead.
The only thing I'm missing is Snake Mountain, because again at that point I ran out of space. I was like, dude, I still have the Castle Grayskull, but I was like, I don't know if I got room for a Snake Mountain anymore with all the other stuff that's coming out.
Well, you better start expanding your home because there's more vehicles coming.
Oh, I know.
Christoph Scuba has joined us. What's happening? Nice to have you here. Yeah, Coco. Well, I don't think you're still in any Motu, right?
I'm retired on
You're
He-Man.
retired. Do you pick up anything? And we'll get to.
Oh
this.
yes. Oh, I haven't stopped collecting another thing that's a space eater, and that's Fans Toys Transformers, third-party
Oh,
Transformers.
ooh, I did not know. We'll get to that. So, all right. So, Motu is like your first favorite. Your first. Were there other toy lines that you played with, or was it just like I know for me, like I had a bunch of stuff, but after that first G.I. Joe commercial, that was it. Like I turned around, I told my dad that's what I wanted, and then that's why I still have all my stuff. I still had some Transformers, Motu stuff, Thundercats, different things like that. Still had some Star Wars, but it was all about getting as much G.I. Joe as possible. So were there other toys that you were? I don't like saying collecting because we didn't collect back then. We played, right? I mean,
yeah, no, I get it. If I could collect and buy at the same time, I definitely played with a lot of Joes too. Joes,
okay.
It was He-Man, Joes, because my I come from a military family, so I naturally gravitated to that. Just like you, when you saw that first commercial of the first 13,
yep.
Oh my God, I wanted that so bad. But when you're a kid at 4 years old, you trying to explain to your mom that I want that. They're like, we don't got money.
I can honestly, I've told it before. I know, I can picture it right now. I'm sitting in front of this TV on this wrinkly stand that how these TV stands didn't fall over, I have no idea. Playing with Star Wars and the Lone Rangers. And I saw the G.I. Joe commercial. I turned around to my dad and I said, "Can I get one of those figures?" And he said, "We'll see." Like it is so vivid. And I mean, I can say from that moment, all I cared about was I wanted G.I. Joe. From the first time I got, being in Sears and asking my dad if I could get one, and he told me to get 2 vehicles. And it was like, oh, 2 vehicles. And I grabbed 2 vehicles. One was the Vamp. I forget what the other one was. And he said, "Why don't you grab that one over there? Because that one has a figure. Then it would have 2 vehicles and 2 figures." And it was like the roof of Sears opened up. The angels were singing. I'm, "Oh my God, you're the smartest person in the world, Dad. I would have never thought of that." And then it was all downhill. And I'll be 49, and it's still going downhill.
Yeah, I'm with you, brother. I'll never forget it. The very first vehicle that I actively asked for was the snow sled. Because as a Filipino,
polar bear.
There's just we've never been exposed to snow in the Philippines. So when we see snow on TV or in the movies, we're like, dang, especially in America, like, oh, I want to go a place in America where it snows. Unfortunately, it doesn't snow in San Diego at all. So, unless you go to like the mountains and stuff, but
Len says, "Hey Punk, I've been subscribed to Coco's channel for a while now. I was drawn to his infectious laugh. Thanks, Coco. Your videos are always fun and interesting to watch." And they are, and they're really good. You do a good job, and I think it's kind of funny when you like come back and you apologize for things or you'll add things at the end, and I'm like, who the fuck cares? Like, I don't give a shit. Because I told you about the Firefly, and like that Firefly master. I'm like, no, let people know that you're aggravated so they can make a decision if they feel they want to, if they want to buy it or not, because that's a lot of people are tuning in because they want that idea to see what they have. And that Firefly is frustrating. I was trying to pose him the other day. You can't get his arm up.
I'm with you. I understand the value in that now. You're right.
Yeah. Say hi to Legend Series, Viper Scout, and Christine, but that's not Christine. That's Machine Man. Christine is here also. All right. So let me ask quickly. Do you mind me asking what nationalities you are?
I'm Filipino. Straight up mafia. Yeah,
right. So, but you were born here. Now, was your dad? Were your parents born here, or did they come over?
Oh no, they're from the Philippines.
So you guys just happened to end up in
America. Well, what happened was my dad joined the Navy, and the Navy by default had to send us, where they send us.
Yeah,
I'd have been happy as a kid living in the Philippines, but we moved here. And
but it's just a happy coincidence that you guys were Filipino, and then that's where he was stationed originally. Okay. No, that's awesome. But yeah, so I told you we probably get it. Afflicted Studio says, "What you had shows will be released tomorrow." Thoughts?
Are they going to show stuff that hasn't already been shown, or is this they're finally going to talk about stuff that was already shown?
Well, there's going to be some reveals. So I know that the PulseCon exclusive is going up. I don't know if there's other pre-orders that are going to be going up. They'll probably show some digital renders along with probably a couple name-only reveals. Now, who I don't even know. I mean, I feel like we all know the list of figures that we're getting the rest of the year. So it's hard, I don't know.
I'm with you.
I'm sure the Full Force has everyone. We're going to see everyone that they've discussed. Considering we're going to be getting stuff before, we'll probably get one more batch of figures around December, right before Christmas. Because all this stuff that's supposed to come out in November looks like it's going to be here sooner.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, let me get my train of thought back here. All right. So you're jumping around. You're in middle school now. As you get in middle school, are you still playing with like toys and stuff, or?
You know what? That's when I knew I was in trouble. Because you know how at a certain age you're supposed to be doing stuff people's age are, you're current to your age. Like,
yeah.
In my generation, to do the gangster stuff was what was, popular, right? But I couldn't help but everywhere I went, I was still all about toys. I knew I was in trouble when I saw the Kenner Aliens line, because I was absolutely drawn to that to those to that toy brand, and of course even the GI Joe still. With the exception of the Street Fighter versions, I wasn't feeling that very much, but more like the Ninja Force still. I was still kind of into.
Okay.
I just wish they didn't use neon, colors at the time, but I like the concept.
Yeah, not the greatest. Not the greatest. Now that was after my time. I had kind of moved on. But what I find funny about middle school, because you said you kind of were still playing with the toys and still.
Oh yeah.
I feel like in middle school. Now maybe it was different because you were moving around, but I grew up in the exact same spot. I feel like in middle school we're all hiding that we play with toys, but in actuality, every one of us still is at home by ourselves. We all think that we aren't. It's definitely when you get into high school, that's when they get put away. So,
yeah, that's also when I knew I was in trouble, because in high school, I was still in off that stuff, dude.
All right,
Legos, Unitron, all of it.
All right, so you get into high school and you are still playing with. Are you still playing with toys, or are you just kind of collecting and posing?
Oh no, I definitely play if I can, man. When there's time, I definitely do.
But even in high school. Even in high school, you were still.
Well, it was different back then. In high school, it was more. I was more into the Dragon Ball / because I was in Japan at the time, so I was more involved with the local toys, with the stuff in Japan, like vinyl Godzillas and Gundam pieces, but the sucky part too was I got heavily into comic books, so then I had to figure out how I was going to spend my money, on hobbies like what comic books or toys, and then sometimes toys would win. Like when the Power of the Force came out during my senior year of high school, I was like, "Oh shit, Star Wars is back! I'm getting this!" That
was a road that we all went down. So, how long were you in Japan for?
3 years, from circa 1993 to 96.
All right. So did you find, like, how were their teenagers? Because like they're real. I mean, they seem to be really deep in that culture of like Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that you kind of talked about. Were they as? would they be as rough on you as the kids in the U.S. would have been back then if they found out you had toys?
I would say, yeah,
Okay.
actually, because at, at at this point, the funny thing is, if it wasn't for Americans loving it, in Japan, like the cool kids, who kind of like the Dragon Ball stuff that was out. I think that I would have, for the most part, it would have been just like how most people treat, uh, like the bullies would treat nerds in general, like in America. Because I know growing up, that still wasn't accepted the way it's accepted, now. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, it is way different now. Like you can collect toys and stuff like that as a teenager now, and no one thinks anything about it. It's kind of like skateboarding. Like I talk to these younger kids, and they don't understand like how skateboarding was looked at back in the late 80s and early 90s. Like we were outcasts, we were hated. Now it's very acceptable. It doesn't, if you're a jock and you ride a skateboard, no one thinks anything about it. If you play football and you collect toys, no one thinks anything about it. It's just like, oh, okay, well, no big deal because Brian Urlacher does, or whoever, whatever football player.
Reed.
Brian Heinrich. I think I said that right. Love watching both of you guys, and I stopped playing with my figures in high school, but got back into it during college.
Same here, Spawn toys, bro.
I feel like Brian's going to start talking about being the 40-year-old virgin soon. All right, so you graduated in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
class of '96.
All right, so after that, well, you talked about getting into comics, and I feel like a lot of people transition into comics in high school because it's considered reading, so they can kind of get away with it. It's also much easier to hide when someone comes over. Would you agree with that? Like,
yes and no. Yes, you could hide it, but no, because my collection was in my room. There's no, you know what I'm saying? It's just, I was collecting a lot, especially since X-Men was the thing in Image Comics. You know what I mean? That's what I was about.
So, but was it easier to? I mean, what was it like trying to make new friends? I mean, going from country to country. I mean, again, base to base is one thing. It's not like the internet now where you can chat with whoever you want for the rest of your life. So what was it? Was it easy to make friends? I mean, I know you talked about reinventing yourself. Sounds like you kept reinventing yourself as more of a nerd every time.
Yeah. I had to tone down the nerdness, if you will, like that right ratio of cool and nerd. So, but once you get that nerd label, in like really nerd label, when they see you for what you were when you're totally into it, it's hard to escape that that thing, no matter how cool you are, because people know you for the guy who was playing with stuff back in the day, so
yeah.
And then these guys don't know me from anything where I moved, so
you can start over and still hide stuff.
Oh, basically, yeah. So I got to wear cross colors, all the things to play it off like I was a regular kid.
There are some things you should keep to yourself, like wearing cross.
And that was what was in back then. So again,
I'm a skateboarder, so especially during that time, you're a rebel, and I had these GNS. There's a skateboard company, plaid pants. And I had them like a year or two before Skids came out. Do you guys remember Skids, the plaid pants? And I remember people telling me that I had fake Skids, and I get so pissed off because I had them well before Skids, because skateboarders had that stuff. And I remember being super pissed in middle school because someone told me I had fake Skids. Oh man, I was fit to be tied. But hey, that's, if you haven't figured out my attitude yet, then I don't know what to tell you.
It was very different in Japan because the problem is because it was such a small town kind of situation living on base. You kind of have to make do with the limited options that you got.
Yeah, I would imagine, considering. I mean, it's not that easy just to get up and move everything that you have, right? Did you lose a lot going from?
Oh
place
yeah,
to place?
oh yeah. That's all. Pretty much all my '80s toys gone.
Yeah,
All shipped to the Philippines to my cousins.
yeah, I hear. I hear that the military is not the greatest about making sure you get everything when it comes, like when you move.
Well, back then, yeah, for sure. So, for sure, yeah. Sometimes your comics don't come back in the same mint shape.
Oh.
So
Now, did you realize back then that they needed to stay in mint shape?
plastic bags.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely bought poly bags and boards, but when movers are moving stuff, they're not really considering stuff.
Oh yeah, I get that. I mean, but hey, you know what? Who really is? I mean, by the time you get to that last couple boxes that you're looking at, you're like, I don't give a shit.
Right?
And then you find out, oh, that's what the breakable shit was.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the shit I should have started with, taking care of it. All right. So, what year did you graduate?
96.
96. So, after you graduated, you're in Japan. What did you do after that?
Now, this was probably one of the hardest parts of my life because this was me finally 18, moving to the States, and I've been pretty much overseas all of my young adult life, like all my adolescent life, right, from middle school to high school, and so I wasn't exposed to a lot of the things that American kids were exposed to, like on base. There's no drugs, weed, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
that just wasn't gonna. You really had to go out of your way to get that out in Japan, to get that, and it's kind of hard because it's just not it's just not something that you'd have access to. So I come back to the States, and man, I just didn't understand why everybody wanted to grow up so soon. I'm like, everybody was drinking underage, and I was like, wow, it just didn't make sense to me. I'm like, y'all gonna be 21 soon. I don't, in 3 years, I don't know. I didn't get the appeal of, wanting to start all that so early, and defy. Plus, again, because my dad was an MP in the Navy, so I lived under a very strict household. So for me, just didn't make sense for these guys to do, to party at such a young age. I'm like, you're gonna be an adult soon enough, and you'll be adult forever once you hit, 21.
I'm kind of with you there, because I mean, I've never drank. I'm a complete straight edge. Never drank, never smoked, never done any of that. But 18, I mean, I was skateboarding more than anything in my life. And 18 probably to 21, 22, and it's like, if I could go back and enjoy that time, give me like 1 year. I want 1 year of what I know now to be able to go back with that body. That body that didn't get hurt by waking up. I would love it. Again, you're right. Like, there were so many people that just wanted to grow up, start on with their career, and it was like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I think around 18, 19 was when I realized I'm never going to be a professional skateboarder. It took me a little bit longer to figure that one out.
You were not going to be the next Christian Hosoi, or
No. We're about the same height, though.
It was hard for me too, because the thing was, I started, at 18, I was attending university, but in the part of San Diego that I'm from, was pretty Filipino gangster at the time. So that was also a hard dynamic to work with. Where I was at in UC Santa Barbara was very white, very white. And then coming back home from Santa Barbara to San Diego for vacation or summer break, it was a different dynamic. Now you have to you have to flex and be hard again a little bit because that's the way the street was where I was living. It was a, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't know, and it sucks when you're young because even if you were never a gangster, if you look like a mark, you're gonna get treated like one. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I kind of just wished I was already. I looked 25, so people wouldn't leave me alone at that point. But when you're young, everybody's sizing each other. You know what I'm talking about? When you go to the mall, and it doesn't even have to be a race thing. It just be people are sizing each other up to see who, when you're a young man, how things are gonna go about, how things are gonna go down.
Yeah,
guys are gonna.
I think a lot of young people, when they're they think that everyone's gonna think they think like everyone thinks like they do. It's like you're right. Like someone's walking through, and like you said, you're sizing them up. I guess we all do it. I mean, if I was somewhere and like you saw someone that was a skateboarder, like you had a kinship that you were going to somehow accidentally bump into them and be like, "Oh wow, do you ride a skateboard too?" Although I've never said that, so I don't know why I even. I'm never like, "Oh, do you ride a skateboard too?" But no, I never looked at it like that. Like not as a race thing, as a like you're sizing people up as in your own age. And if
the
they're in their
dynamics
own
are just
age,
so different.
Yeah, and again, where I'm assuming where you're from, like in San Diego, there's a lot of different cultures. Where I know where I'm from, Dearborn has like the highest Arabic population in the U.S. But I don't live in Dearborn. I live on the other side of Detroit. So other than when I'm over there, you don't have a huge population. We had a huge population of like Chaldeans, Italians, the snow Mexicans. You can't tell. If you don't know what a snow Mexican is, it's a Canadian. They look just like the rest of us. Yeah. But yeah, I never looked at it like that. That is a very interesting way.
I mean, it couldn't be helped, like because it really depended on where you are. And at the time, the '90s were before social media, things were different, and the pop culture / music was very aggressive. It was very gangster, hip hop kind of thing that was prevalent everywhere I went. Now, that's where it sucked because I was more of a headbanger, but in order to vibe with people, I had to at least know, a little bit of Death Row, to a little bit of Pac Dre and that kind of thing going on. When I was in college, I got to dude bro it out with the rest of the frat boys out there. But coming back here, I had to be, the dynamic just wasn't the same, from.
You seem very down to earth, as in like you didn't have to be like oh, if I'm friends with these people, that I have like these are the only people I can be friends with. I can't be friends with these other people because I had a lot of people being a skateboarder and a punk rocker, like other people in the groups that I would be in. Like, why do you hang out with them? They're jocks. I'm like, I don't really give a shit. Like, they're friends of mine. I'm probably not going to be going to concerts with them or anything, but I like them. I can go to a party with them or meet them at a party, one of their parties. If you don't like them, that's on you. Or if they don't like you, like maybe you guys need to just kind of sit down and ask yourselves, why don't we like each other? So I kind of get that vibe where you're more down to earth about that. Like, yeah, well, I have this group, I can fit in over here. I can fit over here. I don't need to be like, well, this is who I am. And, I don't need to be friends with you because you're not exactly like me. I told everyone, like, if the world was just like me, like it would be bad. All right.
If I had to liken myself to a character, if Breakfast Club, by the way, is one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time, I liken myself to Anthony Michael Hall's character, that dude, like just trying to make sure that I don't get beat up because I'm I wasn't exactly big. I was like kind of on the scrawny side when I was, younger because I didn't work out or nothing like that. That's, yeah, I noticed that other American kids, I don't know what their genetics or whatever. Everybody seemed like they were so much taller, taller than me when I was growing up. So I never really liked to.
I was just thinking about the Breakfast Club the other day about like the ending of it, and it's so true. Like there were so many times that you would be somewhere, um, like at a party or at someone's house, and there'd be different groups of people, and you guys all got along and had a great night. But the moment you went back to school, none of you talked because the groups, the cliques that you're part of, they were never going to allow it.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
I was just
basically
thinking
how
about that the other day.
yeah, that's how it
So,
was.
so, so after you graduated, you went away to college. So where did you go and what did you go for?
Well, I was kind of voluntold to go to college because it was just expected of me to go that route. If it was up to me, and I'm not even joking, I would have just joined the Navy like every other Filipino from where I was at. Because the problem was I didn't know what to do. I knew I wasn't smart enough to be a doctor or an engineer. So I was like, well, what the heck am I going to school for? Because I don't know what kind of jobs, if you know, other than if you were going to be a doctor or a lawyer. And I knew that I wasn't smart enough to be a scientist, or my math skills just suck, you know, I guess. And so I ended up just picked something that sounded important and became a political science major. Hey, that sounds important, I guess. So yeah, I'll major in that. Yeah. And got bored out of my mind in college, and then became, you know, and became an Asian American studies major instead, because that's where all the smoking hot Asian chicks were at. So that's where I lost all focus in school, and I felt that what my parents ended up doing was preserving my youth instead of looking back. I wish I had just became a man earlier and joined the Navy so that I could start working towards retirement, towards something, you know, and actually learning something that was useful instead of I mean, I don't know. I'm looking at things from a definitely efficient, you know, set of eyes versus, and also college experience was very traumatic for me just because I felt like I couldn't relate. I thought at the time when I went to college that I'd be with more people like me, but it turns out that when I went to college, it was the exact opposite. I was like, what are you guys doing? Why are y'all doing drugs? This doesn't make no sense to me. Why is everybody doing drugs?
So where did you go to school?
UC Santa Barbara.
Okay. And I listen to a lot of Jim Rome, and he's brought up UC Santa Barbara.
Oh, yeah. He's real popular in Santa
Barbara. Yeah. I feel like I know UC Santa Barbara, San Diego, all because of Jim Rome and the TV show Psych, which is all down there. And now my oldest daughter, lives in San Diego. She just moved down there this year.
Nice.
So I feel like because of that radio show and that TV show, I know all about UC Santa Barbara and like all the area down there. And I've never been there. All right, so
you would have loved it in the 90s, brother. I promise you would have loved it.
Oh, dude, like that.
Skater surfer heaven.
Yeah, I tell people if we had what we have now, like back in the late 80s, 90s, when I'm coming up skateboarding, like my mindset is the only way to stay in skateboarding is to be a professional skateboarder because you don't have the internet and everything. But you look at it now, it's just like toys. You could work in the industry, you could be a team manager, you could be a photographer, a videographer. There's so many things that you could have done, or that I could have done in skateboarding had I known that if I was growing up in this day and age, at 18, I would have definitely moved out there because there's other things that I could have done to make money to stay in the industry doing something like that. But you didn't know it back then. Like It was completely different because, you know, like you see things just like being an athlete. Oh, if I'm not a professional football player, I'm never going to be in athletics. Well, there's radio, there's TV, there's, like I said, videography, photography, agents. There's so many other things that you can do to stay in that industry. But in the 80s and 90s, you really didn't know it unless you had somebody to tell you that.
Agreed. So, we were stuck in our whatever was within our proximity, really.
You know? Um, Gun Bunny says San Diego was awesome in the 2000s. I was all over the gas lamp.
I'm sure he was during his crayon eating days, brother.
So
I got so much love for the Marines. I would have been a Marine if it wasn't for the Navy. That's what I think. You know.
We'll get into that for sure. All right, so you go to college.
Mm-hmm.
But you said like you didn't really fit in because I'm assuming you didn't drink at all or didn't drink very much at least.
Yeah, no, I would, man, bro. It was really embarrassing. Like the ultimate most embarrassing. People would like, because I was sheltered. I didn't know what it was to do these kind of things, drugs and drinking and stuff. It just didn't make sense for me to do, and so yes, I felt like I was the guy with the stick up his ass the whole time. Like, dude, you gotta chill out, calm down, and be mellow out. I think I may have taken myself a little too seriously in that environment, in a party environment. I don't think I should have went to Santa Barbara at all, to be honest. I think I should have stayed in San Diego where the vibe made more sense for me. But in a way, I'm kind of glad that I went through that struggle because it allowed me to see things from, it prepared me how to deal with this level of loneliness moving forward. Like even in among a sea of people, I still felt, alone, right? I don't know how to explain it, but like I never felt like a duck in water. In that situation.
No, I mean I can see that. I was, like I said, I've never done anything, and I was just so steadfast in how I was that it never, like when people, oh, you don't drink, you don't, why? Like it didn't matter. I never felt like an outcast. But everyone has they have different experiences, and I mean even. Throughout my 30s and stuff, people didn't understand why or how I could go my whole life without ever drinking. And it's like, I don't know, I've never done it. It's not that difficult if you've never done something. I don't miss it because it's not there. So it's but I understand where people where you could feel like, oh, everyone is doing this. Why don't I feel like I need to do it? Especially how you grew up. Like you grew up, like you said. It doesn't sound like you were bouncing all the time. It sounds like you were stationed for a good amount of time at places. But yeah, to be in that environment and then be like, wait a minute, my dad's gonna kick my ass if I come home drunk.
Yeah.
Like he's just gonna show up.
So I did something that I wasn't. That was definitely not me. But in a way, I'm glad that I did. I joined a fraternity. I joined, a fraternity in college, and I met, I would say, some of my closest friends and brothers, that I'm ever going to be homies with moving, forward. Of course, we're not the same people moving, from our 20s to now, but I think that we're still very close. Like we could call each other in case we ever really needed anything. But still, the problem was, because I was never a frat boy, at heart, I was just doing frat boy stuff. It kind of made me, it kind of made me feel alone. Because again, I was the only guy in the frat that was still collecting comics, low key buying, Star Wars toys, all of that stuff. While all of that was, happening. I'm not saying they didn't like what I was doing. It's just that wasn't them. They were more of the Jordan collector guys that played basketball.
Yeah,
the stuff that I guess popular kids did, I guess, but that was never going to be.
What was considered more normal back then?
Well, let me put it to you this way: like when I guess the default is everybody had to wear a pair of Nikes or something, but that was never me. I was the Skechers, Timberland. that was the shit I ended up wearing.
Were you wearing Skechers before Joe Montana was the spokesperson for him?
No, yeah, I didn't even know because we didn't have American commercials in Japan, so I had no idea what kind of commercials they had, back then for that.
So I'm just. You said you were a lieutenant, so I'm assuming you graduated from college.
I did. I got my pretty much after 9/11. It definitely rekindled my desire to do my part in my family, because everyone in my family, my dad, his brothers, my mom and her brother, well, not my mom, but her brothers, my uncles, they all joined the military. And I felt like I wanted to do it was my time. It was my time to do it, you know?
So what did you graduate? Like, what degree did you graduate with?
Asian American studies. It was definitely going to go nowhere. So I was thinking about becoming a high school teacher or some kind of teacher for elementary, but California at the time was firing teachers. So I was like, oh, well, there goes my dreams. And 9/11 happened. So I was like, you know what? It's time to revisit my to become the G.I. Joe character that I always wanted to be. You know?
Okay, let me ask, because now you're bringing up something. So other than being a teacher, what other type of career is there for Asian American studies?
Exactly. What else could there be?
Like, here's a degree. It's useless.
Right.
I mean,
it was fun at the time because, again, I got to see smoking hot Asian chicks for a good 3 years straight. But but when it came to actually stuff that paid off, there was nothing. So I had to make the degree mean something. So I got my I got my commission and joined the Army.
All right. So what year did you join the Army?
2003.
And
the only reason I didn't join much sooner was because at the time, I didn't exactly graduate on time. I was supposed to graduate 2001, but my math skills sucked so bad I had to take remedial math for a year. Well, actually 2 years, but so remember, I tried to avoid math, and so in order for me to get my actual degree, I had to pass a math college math thing. So 2 years, got that, and then I was able to go to OCS from that point on. And but I would have, if I had done the right thing before, believe me, I'd have definitely joined much sooner, and I probably would have ended up in the beginning part of in Fallujah and all the the beginning part of the war. I ended up joining towards the, I would say, top down part of the war, 2005, 2007 of Operation Iraq, Iraq Freedom. So.
Checkpoint Alpha says, I know a lot of Filipino nurses.
You better.
Right now, Yul is going, where do you live at? Do you have a room? Do you have a room I could rent?
Yeah, we're all over the it's so funny that whenever I see shows about doctors and stuff, I'm like, man, we know that it's all fake because we have to have Filipino nurses for that, and they don't show them at all.
So this is a true story. I'm gonna sidetrack it a little bit. True story. So my dad's wife she's 100% Japanese, but she was born here, right? She doesn't speak a lick of Japanese. Her daughter, her son and daughter are mixed, half Japanese, half, I don't know what their dad was. Their dad passed away. So, so we're sitting there at Christmas, and Karen, that is my stepmother, she's a nurse, and somehow we start getting on, like, talking about people she cares for, and she's like, whenever someone comes in, like an Asian that doesn't speak English, she'll do her best to speak in an Asian accent, like, oh yeah, no hablo inglés, like, well, that was a Mexican one or Spanish one, but she talks in like this Japanese or this Asian accent.
So sorry.
And we're sitting there going, wait a minute. So you're trying to make them feel more comfortable by speaking like this, even though you can't speak their language. And then her daughter, Keo, she goes, Mom, what do you do if they start speaking in the language? Oh, there's so many different languages and so many different Asian languages. It doesn't matter. I'll just act like I'm something different. I'm like, oh my God, you did not just say that.
Well played.
Like, that is like the most racist thing of not being racist that I've ever heard in my entire life. Like,
that's what's up.
Like, I'm looking at my stepsister, and my stepsister's like 15 years younger than me. And she's telling us, and we're just like, what? But I understood her. I understood what she was saying, that, like, they don't have anyone there. So she's trying to make them feel more comfortable by making it seem like she also doesn't know the language. But then she's acting like, well, if they start talking to me in Chinese, I'll just act like I'm Japanese and like I don't speak like that. Oh my God.
How old is your stepmom?
Oh, Karen is in her late 60s, 70s.
Okay, so I would say, if I had to hazard a guess, and this is because of Asian Am, she's probably a sansei or a nisei.
What do you mean?
In the beginning, second generation is nisei, third generation is sansei.
Okay, she's sensei because she had that on her license plate for the longest time. Sansei. And it never made any sense to me because she doesn't do martial arts. But now that makes sense.
Yeah, sansei. Yeah.
Look, I learned something. But yeah, no, yeah, that was at Christmas time, and we're just like, and I just like her daughter and I, Keo and I are just looking at each other like, dude, you didn't just say that.
I love it.
Again, like she was trying to make it, it made sense. That was a sidetrack story. This isn't about me, but sometimes you just gotta.
I never wanted to leave Japan, bro. Seriously, if I could stay in Japan forever, I would have, because I just love everything about.
It's funny. I hear a lot of people say that, but then I've met people from Japan that come here for a short bit and they don't want to go back.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand why too, because there's just so much to do here. But I just love their sensibility over there. Like, they're the most respectful people ever. They're most courteous. You never have to worry about getting jacked or robbed or anything when you're there.
Are you trying to say we're not courteous here?
Oh, let me put it to you this way. The only people I had to worry about in Japan were other Americans. I know I wasn't really worried about Japanese people doing shit to me. I was always worried about Americans doing shit to me. So, yeah.
All right. So, I like this. Model Misfits. Talk louder and slower. I'm assuming that's towards my stepmom. All right. God, I feel like I got an itch here. All right. So, you graduate with a degree that's not going to earn you any money.
Exactly. That's why I should have joined the military straight off the bat.
So you decided to join the Army. Now, you have, the whole time we've been talking, you have been mentioning the Navy. And then your dad was in the Navy. You said you should have joined the Navy. What made you join the Army rather than the Navy?
The irony of this. I love this story. So I was, remember when I was telling you I was doing remedial math. And I happened to be around a bunch of Army recruiters. And Dad had to drop me off at school because I couldn't afford a car at the time. So he was driving me to school, to community college with his the shuttle Tiderian Toyota van. Remember that Twinkie looking 80s Toyota van? So we happened to see the recruiters at college, and I was trolling them. I was trolling the recruiters, like, I ain't joining the Army unless you guys, send me to OCS. We can make that happen. At that point, I was like, oh shit, I shouldn't have said anything. And then my dad goes, see? And he goes, son, everybody in the family is in the Navy. Why don't you do something more original? And that's how I got Jedi mind tricked into getting into the Army at that point. I was like, well, how much different could it possibly be? Man.
Is it a night and day?
Yeah. Everything about them is definitely different. Because here's the thing. When I was in Japan, even though my dad was Navy, I went to school in Army bases. So because of how often I kept going in and out of Army and Navy bases, it didn't feel like, subconsciously, I didn't think there was really that big of a culture change if all of these people are all in Japan together. And but remember, I'm seeing this from the eyes of a kid growing up versus an actual adult, right? So I'm thinking to myself, well, if this road leads to Japan, then I win. So I was like, I want to go back, and I joined the at some point. If I have to go through Iraq to do all that and eventually make my way to Japan, sure, I'll do it. But that's not what happened. What ended up happening was, as soon as I went to the recruiters, and at that point it was just all jokes and trolling, and before you know it, I was signing paperwork in real life, and I couldn't believe it was happening.
So did you even consider the other branches, or was it this was brought up to you? You're saying you were all of a sudden signing it. So did you just kind of go there and when you stop at the car dealership and you're like, I'm just looking for a car. Next thing you know, you're signing to have a car note for the next 5 years.
Yeah. A lot of it too was I'm one of those people that I was getting tired of being wishy-washy on things too. So I was like, all right, well, let me just stick to this and we'll go, we'll go with it. Also, I was really kind of curious to see where the Army was gonna, how that whole thing was, since it's so different from anything that I've known. I've always been around more Marines and Navy because of San Diego, California, right? So I was like, let me go try this out. Plus, it also didn't help that I watched Black Hawk Down, so I was like, maybe I'll see what that definitely played a role. Plus, Saving Private Ryan, all of those things that I was like, you know what? I know more about the Marines and Navy stuff. Maybe it'd be a good idea to just try something different. And yeah, I didn't realize how
you missed Top Gun. Like you missed Top Gun. That was Navy, all right?
Yeah.
Navy SEALs. What was it?
Navy SEALs. I knew I was not going to make it through buds.
No,
I don't
not
like
Navy
cold.
SEALs. What was the Tears of the Sun?
Oh yeah.
So Bernie says one's water, one's ground, basically the same. Hey, according to Jesus, they're the same because he could walk on both.
Looking back, like if knowing everything that I know now, right? If I wanted to do a more masculine branch, I'd have definitely done the Marines. Looking back, because I like that they have the misfits kind of outcast branch. I think that makes more sense to me. Plus, I appreciate their much darker sense of humor, so I think I would have definitely belonged in that situation. Also, I really enjoyed, the way they do their culture is very much more. Their esprit de corps is very, very high. Is very strong in the Marines because they really are just the few and the proud, right? In the Army, when I got in there, I was like, I didn't know how to feel because everybody was, unless you're part of the 101st or the 82nd or, you don't really have you don't really know where you actually, what kind of pride you can have unless you're in one of those things. Either you had wings or you were a leg, or it was just so vast that I wasn't sure how,
So you're saying like Marines, like the moment you join the Marines, like you're prideful of what you're doing, but the other ones you weren't really sure.
Yeah, because in the Marines the standards to getting in is very high. Like they have to do 3 miles instead of just 2, and plus from my understanding, and this is just the way I view. I know since I was never a Marine, I'm just looking at it from an outsider's perspective. they seem to have more discipline and bearing when in uniform. So,
yeah, I can see that.
Again, I could be wrong, but that's what how it came up.
Well, you don't really think of other dress uniforms other than the Marines. I mean, you know the Navy's just because it's that white outfit, you know, and it seems like they're always in it because there's so many reasons for them to be in it. But when you think of like dress blues, you think of the Marines. You think of that gung ho character, which was one of the worst G.I. Joe characters ever. I'm sorry, I didn't need a guy in his dress blues. Now, I would love to get a dress blues gung ho. Of course, it'd be completely jacked up because Hasbro won't pay for the proper markings for him.
Yeah, you can't handle the truth.
Tell my daughter we gotta watch it because she wants to be a lawyer, and we've been watching Suits. So I'm like, and I don't know if you ever watched Suits, but they constantly talk about other like movie quotes and everything, and they just use that one, and she didn't understand it. And I'm like, we gotta watch that. But we're powering through, getting through Suits. We have like a season and a half left. So. All right, so you join the Army. You become an officer. Now, how long did you serve for?
So I ended up getting a reserve commission because they just at the time they wouldn't allow me. So that was a big mistake. I thought at the time that I could easily make the transition, and then I learned of stop loss. Stop loss was a hard pill to swallow because I was also broke as a reservist. Like, okay, I did all this training I went to OCS, learned all sorts of really good leadership stuff, but I didn't have a regular job when I got out of basic training in OCS. So I was thinking, so all I could think of is, well, they better send me to war soon because I need to get, I want to get part of, not only was I broke, but I wanted to get involved finally. You know what I mean?
Now here's the hazard. You want to get hazard pay, all right?
Hey, yeah, I was broke, and also, I also wanted to finally be part of the history portion of stuff. Like doing my part, so I could say that I did. That when the country called, this Filipino dude decided that he stepped up for the country to do his part. Especially since I love Starship Troopers, I imagine myself saying those same exact lines. I'm doing my part. Yeah.
Well, you have a different version of the Army than what other people I think. Firefly says, I'm a Filipino nurse. I think Firefly is a male.
I believe it.
Might be wrong. All right, so you join the Army. You're gonna fight aliens. Doing your part to fight aliens.
The only good bug's a dead bug.
All right, and so I think I've seen the movie one time. So I feel like it's one of those ones you have to go back and watch, but it's pretty gory. You kind of need to have a tough stomach. Yeah.
I knew what to expect, especially since it was the director of RoboCop, and it was pretty gory. So.
Yeah, RoboCop's another one. The fact that they had to cut it and no, we can't use that. It's a little.
You're right. Otherwise, I would have given an X rating.
All right, so how long did you end up serving? Because you talked. Oh, so I'm sorry. Go back to what you were saying about not having money and needing to get hazard pay.
So I joined in 2003. Then I went to Officer Basic which is basically the advanced course, in 2004. And pretty much after that, there was a year pause. From 2004 to 2005 was where I was like, I had to sell cars because I didn't have a job at the time, a real job at the time. And then when 2005 happened, I was like, Lieutenant Blamo, it's time for you to go. I was like, oh, there you go. I've got, and that's what happened. I was gone for a year and a half, and came back in 2007. And then this is where the next transition of my life took place. As soon as I got back, I didn't know what to do either, because now here's what I did in the Army for a year and a half, and then try to make that translate to a civilian job. And I ended up working at for Remick Defense and Space for a little bit, to painting weapons parts, missile parts, the sensitive equipment, things that guide missiles and stuff.
Yeah.
And then for a little bit, and then I got a job with the government. and what happened was, as soon as I got that job in the government, I was recalled again to in 2008, and got out in 2010. Another year and a half of active duty stint. Oh no, I can speak Tagalog, but barely. I understand it fully, but I don't think in Tagalog. Clint, I wish, but no, I didn't get that extra pay, that extra Tagalog pay, because I didn't pass the competency, language competency.
So you can tell that he can't speak it that well, as he says it wrong, as his tag along. It is spelled tag along. Look at that. Now I want Girl Scout cookies. If a Girl Scout showed up at my house right now, I'd leave this stream to go buy cookies just because.
And pretty much I got out officially of the reserves in 2013. So a mixed bag from 2003 to 2013, 10-year stint, and I just never went back to the reserves again. I was just done. I was focused on my government job moving forward, and just doing what I do.
So while you were serving, what was your position?
So I had signed up to this is where it gets crazy. So in the beginning, I wanted to do the combat stuff, right? And Dad talked me out of it. He goes, "Son, I get it. You saw Black Hawk Down, and you wanted to do all that infantry hula stuff, right? But what But then he said, what if you end up not liking it? What did you actually learn that will translate to a real job when you get out?" A good point, because all I know how to do is kill people, cause destruction and kill and stuff, right? I'd be pretty much stuck to doing stuff that involves violence moving forward. So I was like, okay, well, I figured at that point, maybe I'll learn something in computers, and I ended up becoming a human resources officer, admin, and the ultimate pogue, admin officer.
Isn't that what
specifically postal?
Isn't that kind of what Obi-Wan Kenobi did in Black Hawk Down? He had a specific set of skills called typing.
I was like Upham from in Private Ryan. Yeah, that I was in charge of specifically postal. I figured, okay, well, you know what? If I ever got out of the military, I'd at least know how to do postal operations. And as soon as I got out of my year and a half tour in Iraq doing postal operations, I figured the first thing I would do was try to get a job as a postal guy in the States. Unfortunately, even though I did good at the test, they just weren't really hiring people at the time. So, but I did good on the postal exams.
Guys, I'm not going to allow this to become a political thing.
And people don't know. Dogs are delicious, bro.
Dogs. What is considered a real job? I'm sorry. I don't care where you vote, who you vote for, but we're so fucked.
Yeah.
so Roman, my dog. Oh wait, that's not my Roman's last name. Ewan McGregor was the actor of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Was the actor of Obi in Black Hawk Down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I I think you got it after a short bit. You don't think of him as Obi-Wan Kenobi in anything else. He's a really good actor. And you kind of forget, like when you go back and watch Black Hawk Down, you kind of go, "Oh my God, I didn't realize he was in it and he was in it." Like there's a lot of named guys in Black Hawk Down. And it's still probably my favorite military movie because it's so real.
Yeah. It really is. As a matter of fact, because of that movie, man, I wasn't the most athletic person, but believe me, I started running as often as I could, because if I ever got stuck in a situation like them, I wanted to have enough cardio to run to be able to run from, wherever they were at to back to home base like they did. I was like, oh man, yeah, no way I was gonna, get killed because I couldn't run, so.
And I don't think running in those things are nearly as probably aren't that comfortable. It's probably not like your nice ASIC your ASIC running shoes.
Yeah.
I love that movie. I have a thing for military movies, even though I never wanted to be in the military. There's a reason why I collect all this G.I. Joe shit. So anyway, all right. So let's get into. So you're a mailman. I want to say you're a mailman.
Yes. I was in charge of postal operations.
You went to officer school to be a mailman.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, there's your job right there. You could have got a job as in the postal.
And I tried.
Oh,
I ended up somewhere else. So.
Well, if you would have been here in Royal Oak, that is where I think the first post office shooting happened. It would have worked out great for you because you would have had all the criteria. It actually happened in the post office that one of my neighbors worked in, believe it or not. She wasn't there when it happened, but I remember my dad telling me that, like, yeah, she works in that post office. Things we shoot things up for these days. All right, so you finish up in the military. Now, what did you do after that? You said you looked for government jobs.
And I'm a government employee right now, and that's all I do. I've never left since then.
Okay, so you got that job shortly after you left, and you're still there.
What happened was I got it in 2008, but what happened was I got redeployed, and then when I came back, I went back to my.
All right, so I didn't realize that was the job that you had got. All right,
but I stopped doing reserve stuff at 2013. I was done. Total of 4 years active duty combined with all the deployments that I did. So.
Oh wow! Quick story. The job that I work at now for 23 years, I got because 9/11. I got laid off on a Friday. 9/11 happened on Tuesday. And I was like, I need to find a job. And it was like a month and a half later. I was asking anyone. And the guy that he actually works there. He works there now. He does shipping and receiving. They brought him back to replace someone. And then 9/11 happened. And the guy that hired me kind of looked at him and goes, "You're going, aren't you?" Because he was in the reserve. He was in the Navy Reserve. He always went to Italy and was stationed there as a MP. Or was it short patrol? What is the military?
It would be MA, a Master of Arms, if it was a Navy.
Yeah, and so they'd always station him over there because he was familiar. But he was so far in the reserves, like there was no way that he wasn't going to get his pension. He was going to stay in. So the guy that they were going to replace him with was the guy that he lived with my girlfriend's brother at the time. And he was like, "Hey, the guy they just hired is going to have to go back." So I'm like calling this guy, bugging the shit out of him. the guy that ended up hiring me. And then he finally brings me in for an interview. And as we're leaving, I run into this guy that got me the interview. And I didn't remember him. I'd only met him like one time bowling at like 4 a.m. or something. And he goes, hey, here's your boy right now. And I was like, oh, yeah, Jeff, you know. So like a year later, after they finally got rid of Jeff, Paz, the guy that hired me, is telling me, he goes, you know, I was never going to hire you. I go, why? And he goes, we brought Jimmy back to fire Jeff. And then Jeff comes to me with this guy, oh, that's my good friend, you know. And I'm like, and you wouldn't stop calling. I was worried I wasn't going to have a job. And he goes, I just gave you an interview. He goes, I was showing you the door to never talk to you again. But he goes, when Jeff walked in as you were walking out, and it was so apparent that you had no idea who he was, that I said, you know what? Maybe he doesn't know him. So I gave you the shot. So little did Jeff know that he was actually bringing me in to eventually replace him. I didn't know it.
Well played, boss.
But all because of the chance that he just happened to be walking in as I was walking out, and that, you know, Paz had, he goes, it was so apparent that you two did not know each other. Clint says, was he at the Air Force Base? And I have no idea. I just know that he was he was in the Navy, and he was one of the police officers in the Navy. It might have been an Air Force Base. I'll ask him tomorrow. I'm sure I'll see him, and he'll be complaining about something. All right. So you get out. You have this government job, which you still work at, and you don't want to discuss it. That's perfectly fine. All right. So while you're serving, were you collecting anything?
Everything, man. Everything. Wait, when you give a geek money, I bought it all. And when Amazon became a thing, oh my gosh, I was buying Dungeons and Dragons books. I pretty much, whenever a new D&D book came out, I bought that. And I had a comic book pull list. So when I got back from Iraq, I spent thousands on my pull list coming back. And definitely by the time I got back from Iraq too, the one thing that was introduced was Transformers Classics. I think it was that was the line, right? The Chuck Classics, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, the one that had the first wave had what Hot Rod. Well, that's when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, and I got into that and splurged out and bought a lot of Transformers.
They're making fun of you. Frostbite's like,
I collected everything. I really did. I'm not even joking. I couldn't help myself because I loved everything. I bought Star Wars Legos that I missed out on. There's just so much. It was like I just buying everything.
Now this right here, this is a Jim Rome. Like, this is directly what Jim Rome says. What were you collecting? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You didn't answer it.
Everything.
So how do you, like, when you're serving, how do you collect? Like, do you have stuff sent to your parents' house?
Yes.
Do you have it?
That for sure. I didn't have my own place, so
It's got to be great. Like, you come home and it's just like piles of boxes in your room.
My parents couldn't believe it. They're in absolute disbelief. They're like, really? How is this dude out there? Where does he have the time to come up with, to buy all of this stuff? And why is he shipping all this? Is my child ever going to grow up and do adult stuff?
They were like, I'm never getting a grandchild from him.
Yeah. I mean, I would have loved to, but that's just not kind of how things worked out,
Yes, we're also the 40-year-old virgin.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you this. I'm definitely a recovering simp. I had no idea I was a simp until I was in my 40s. I didn't even understand the concept. And when I finally learned, after taking my red pills, I was like, man, I wish I learned all these, lessons when I was younger. It would have saved me from depression and a bunch of other heartache had I known all the stuff that I know, now back then. For sure.
All right, so you were collecting everything.
Mm-hmm.
Transformers, Motu. Were you collecting any G.I. Joe? There was actually a good amount of G.I. Joe coming out. You don't really think about it because I don't think anything was really considered like collectorness.
So at the time, I was a real big fan of Vipers, by the way. I loved when I started collecting G.I. Joe again, because the first time I was introduced to G.I. Joe, the present I got was Blowtorch and Ripcord and the Cobra Asp. So those were my first GI introduction to GI Joe. But I wanted the snow stuff, and I and got them to ride the snow. But that's the sad part of snow in San Diego. So I had and because there were just so many different toys, and parents would just as much as I would have loved to collect more GI Joes, all I could do was play with the ones that I did have. And as I got older, I rebought. I did buy some stuff, but mostly Vipers. I got the Alley Viper, the Night Viper, Toxo Viper. Toxo Viper. I was a bad guy. I was a real big fan of the bad guys. As I was towards the later part of the line, like the late 80s, early 90s kind of stuff was going on.
Frostbite says, I bet Coco was a big fan of Frostbite.
Well, the sad part is once I actually got introduced to snow in real life, I didn't realize how uncomfortable snow is.
Well, I've said that numerous times about everyone wants a snowcat. I'm like, the G.I. Joe brand, they have to be cautious of that because there's a lot of people that have never seen snow in real life. People in Texas, California, Arizona. So, and since I'm not from there, my whole thing is I don't know if that's something they want. I experience every single season. So I can have something that's Arctic and something that's desert and something that's for the jungle. But like if you're in Arizona, like you've never probably seen snow in real life. You've seen it on TV. But many of these guys from California and Texas, they're like, I love the snow stuff. And maybe it's because, like what you said, it seems so awesome until I'm stuck
in the snow.
And it's 10 below out with the wind whipping. The sun hasn't come up for like 3 days. Like, yeah, it's not that great. It seems fun. And it's a lot more fun when you're a kid. But as you get older and everything hurts.
Yeah.
You wake up and you're like, oh my God, I need to be 90 degrees out.
I've experienced my first snow winter in Fort McCoy, Wisconsin, and the Midwest snow is definitely not fun, especially black ice, all of that stuff that I didn't know came with the culture of snow. Right? When you're a kid thinking about, look at these guys, when Christmas comes and you're seeing snowmen and all that fun holiday stuff, I was like, man, I want to be part of that America. That's the America. Kids throwing snowballs at each other.
Yeah, those are the pictures you see. What people don't see is on the side of the road, the dirty snow that's been shot up all over, the big mounds of dirty water that's all around the curbs, right? No one takes those pictures, right? No one shows you the potholes that these things create, all right?
Yeah. Chicago, when I went there, I noticed that I could already tell that you guys are always perpetually having potholes.
Michigan is so bad. So if anyone uses the GPS Waze, it'll say there's a cop up in 1 mile or whatever, and you hit yes or they're not there anymore. Anytime in Michigan that it says there's a pothole, I just hit yes because I assume it's there. Right? Because they don't go away. All they do is they throw some patch over it and they make it seem like it's supposed to be a little bit better. I'm like, yeah, it didn't work. You need to go outside? Go ask the boy. Go knock on the door. All right. Hold on, I gotta yell for 1 second. He has those stupid headphones on. All right. Give me 1 second so I can go knock on his door and ask him to let him out. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a commercial. I don't like doing this when other people are on, but actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the new commercial for my moderators show on Tuesdays. Don't go anywhere, Coco. I promise I'll be right back.
Idiots! Incompetent buffoons! What is it now, Commander? Consummate morons, incapable of coherent thought! Are you watching that show again? Yes. Why didn't you just watch Pop Blender and Matthew's discussions, news, reviews before the show came out? Whether you agree or disagree, the perspectives provide enough context to know if the show or movie is worth your time or not. Yes, I know. I will not miss another Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central on Pop Blender's channel. Be more than once a man by watching Pop Blender and Matthew talk about pop culture news discussions and reviews on Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. And now you know. Televiper, be sure to hit like, share, and subscribe so we do not miss another episode, and hit that bell notification.
All right. I apologize. I try not to interrupt when I have a guest on, but someone had headphones on so he couldn't hear me yelling. You guys could probably see how loud I was trying to yell for one. All right. I forget where the hell we were at because when the dog wants to go out, he interrupts everything.
Snow.
So I apologize.
The pothole, yeah, potholes.
Oh, the
ways, yes.
Yeah, the ways in the potholes. Yeah, everyone likes, everyone seems to like snow till they get to experience it.
Yeah.
Like, no, what you want is you want to come into Vail, Colorado, where there's all the snow bunnies and you enjoy it, and then you leave after 3 or 4 days. Yeah, come here, and in December it gets cold, but it doesn't snow. But in January it gets really fucking cold, and then February is even worse. And then in March you'll have like a 60-degree day, and then the next day it's like 20 degrees, and everyone's going, "Oh, I don't know why I'm sick." Well, I don't know, because it was spring yesterday, and now it's fucking winter again. All right. So,
if you can remember the commercials back then, remember like the Nestle white chocolate when they were showing stuff in the snow too?
I do.
Wow, sexy snow.
I remember Nestle white chocolate because my best friend in middle school, in elementary school and middle school, his mom worked for Nestle. So she would always bring home Nestle product, but it was always the stuff that didn't sell. So she had lots of white chocolate that nobody wanted.
I like
lots of banana Laffy Taffy.
Yeah.
Never, like very seldom were any of the other flavors. So to this day, if I taste banana Laffy Taffy, I'm just like,
yeah,
how much
I'm with you.
Yeah, it just. I mean, we were finding the Laffy Taffy wrappers in the bottom of his toy box for years. And it gets to the point where you know every single joke. Like you know every single joke that was on the other side of the Laffy Taffy.
Yeah.
Joe says white chocolate was Lawrence's nickname.
Sweet dreams, you can.
Yeah. Gun Bunny says banana Laffy Taffy is the best. you'd be saying the same thing as I was if you grew up with Joe and had all that Laffy Taffy. But you're a kid, so you're gonna eat the candy because it's free. It was not good.
I'm a Mexican candy junkie.
Johnny Reno's asking, is that a Comic-Con mug, Coco?
It kind of, yes, it is. It's a Wild Bill's mug, and it was from it was what they sold in Comic-Con at the time. Yes.
Okay. All right. So you're collecting all through while you're serving. Now you get home. Is it worse when you get home?
Oh yes, because what happened is a lot of the times when I was in the Army, and believe me, there was a lot of downtime. Me and other it turns out that a lot of people in the Army are gosh dang nerds too. So we're enabling each other. We're talking about all of the stuff that we would buy when we got back, and since the internet finally became more accessible across circa 2005 2007, we saw things that we like Darth Maul statues and things like that. We're like, wow, these are so cool. We're gonna get those, with our Iraq saved money.
Right. So it's just dawning on me. You were still living with your parents, or you didn't have a place when you were deployed.
Correct.
So you just had all income. Like you didn't have you didn't have any bill.
Pretty much at the time, yes.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, you are a degenerate.
I mean, because at the time, the problem is if I did get my own place, I didn't know how I was going to store all of my goodies without there's a lot of theft that goes around in storage places and apartments. So I knew that in my parents, stuff that I bought would never get stolen there, because the neighborhood's pretty. I wouldn't say that it was the safest, but it's a lot safer than
a storage unit. Yeah. So you get back, you have a job that's all lined up. It's a professional job, so I'm assuming it pays you decent at least. I don't know if anything pays decent in California, but I don't know how you people live in California, all right? Unless you're an actor or an athlete and make millions of dollars, all right? So did you stay with your parents, or did you move out fairly quickly?
So no, I ended up staying with them up until 2015.
Okay.
A lot of it is because the prices of everything started to rise pretty high, and
all your money was in toys, so you didn't have any. Can't afford anything.
You couldn't afford anything anyway either, and so and also, I spent a lot of money trying to date, trying to put myself out there, Yeah, it definitely does now. That's for sure. 2015, I definitely ended up getting my own spot. So from there.
Okay. So when you get back, I know you said you were collecting everything, but you obviously can't be collecting everything.
A little bit of everything.
All right. So
casually collecting everything.
So what were you mainly focused on?
Man, that's the problem with money, internet, and you're always seeing things. I was buying every kind of game console system too, and playing video games up the wazoo. I had to have a PSP. I'd have the latest Game Boy version there is out there. PS, Xbox. My money just went everywhere, and chicks, trying to date and stuff. So yeah, again, if knowing everything that I knew now, I definitely would have approached things a lot more, wisely. But at the time, I lived YOLO. I lived like there was no tomorrow. Like I never planned on, for bad days or anything, because I figured that none, I don't know, I just needed the dopamine hit so bad on something that I was just, me and money. We never. As soon as I get it, it's woo. It's like now it's going to Arsenal of Pew Pews. It's going to BBTS. It's going to.
I think there's a lot of people in this chat that have feel the exact same way.
Yeah. So and that's kind of what happened. I mean, but if I became a parent, I think for sure I would have definitely not be living this life. I'm definitely focused on taking care of, the family.
I can't speak for everyone. I know for me, I had started skateboarding a lot again when my ex got pregnant with our son. And it was like the moment she got pregnant, I just kind of stopped skating. I didn't plan on it, but I'm working all day. She's at home. She's pregnant. I had something to do with that from what she tells me. And then, she's also dealing with her daughter, who's like, I think Emily was like 8 at the time. And I just thought, I didn't think that it was fair that I worked all day and then I just went out and skated and that's where I was spending my money. This is when you're supposed to be making a family. So I stopped skating for 10 years. My son came along. I never really thought about, I thought about skateboarding all the time, but I never really thought about like going out because we had other things going. And then my daughter came along and it wasn't until, we split up and we were still living together. And I was like, I can't be in the fucking house with you all the time. So I started skating again. So for me, kind of like what you said, you put those things away because you now have priorities.
Right.
But if I'm at the age now where my kids are, 18 and 15, they are self-sufficient and this channel supports itself for the most part. So that's a whole nother. You'll be there soon. Believe me, you will be there soon with everything that you're doing. All right. So tell me about what you're main collecting in during this time. I know you talked about Motu, but by this time you're done with Motu. You said 2008.
Right.
You were done, right?
It's finished. I finished the classics line, so it's done.
What's it like to finish a line? Yeah, I want to be able to be like, I'm done. And sit back and relax and be like, I'm done.
It feels good and bad at the same time. Good because you're like, I'm finally no longer a slave to this because it's done. It's wrapped up. Because some days it feels like a chore and not fun. You know what I mean? Especially when money's tight and you have to worry about spending your money on more responsible adult stuff, right? Like insurance and
adulting is stupid.
Stuff, right? So yeah, and I remember because of the stress of that hobby, and again because of classics was a subscription thing. It's not something that you could just once you're subscribed to it, you're committed to it, right?
Yeah.
You're worried about how you have to make sure that you have enough money for that for that thing to come out of your checkings too. So with that, it would stress me out, and when you have to worry about that,
I don't know what you mean. I know nothing about that.
But yeah, I get it.
Thanks, Hasbro.
And so now I'm trying to wrap up whatever third-party fans toys masterpiece Transformer. I'm glad that I got most of the G1 characters for Transformers almost done. So that line is slowly finishing, but I've definitely gone hardcore into third-party militaries, action figures in general, Joes to the Valaverse stuff, and and I'm definitely interested in the Monster Force stuff too, just because I think it's real cool. It
looks so good. It looks so good. I just shut the door. I'm shutting the door so I don't have to hear him. Go sit down. You want to say hi to everyone? Here, come up here and say hi. Come on, come over here. All right, let's say hi. I know. I haven't paid enough attention to you, but I'm busy with someone. I know. Don't worry, you can spend the rest of the night with me. If anyone has animals, they can understand what it's like. They're like kids, except they can't speak. All right. So I've never seen a Transformers video on you. Now, admittedly, I don't watch everything that you do, but have you done any Transformers videos?
I refuse to, because it's hard to transform those things. Man, it really is. I'm afraid I'll break it on camera. You know, these things are expensive as heck. $300 plus, $200 plus. You know, stuff.
Johnny wants to know, Coco, have you seen the new third-party G1 Jetfire Macros Valkyrie that came out recently?
I have actually, and I've stayed away from I stayed away from having that focus, because I decided to commit to just G1 looking cartoon Transformers moving forward and closing that. I can't wait to retire from that. But so G.I. Joe is different. I'm definitely, the enthusiasm for that so hard right now that
you talking to like.
Do I have any pets? No, I used to when I was living with my parents, I was taking care of 12 or 14 cats, 3 dogs. Once I got my own spot, I never got any pets, because it's a lot of obviously it's a lot of responsibility, you know. I work, if I work at home, then yes, I would definitely have a pet, but the problem is it's hard to have a dog and me be by myself in my own house. Like, it's hard, you know what I mean? And dogs require a lot of
I got him after my ex and I split up when she finally moved out. And I think I went about 6 months where if I didn't have the kids, I could just go leave work and go do whatever I want. And then once I got this guy, then you start realizing I can't do that. And I remember sitting down with my buddy that I skated with, and he goes, how's everything going with the dog? I'm like, it's good. He goes, before Dakota passed away, this was my life. He's like, I'd leave work. I'm like, what? He goes, you leave work, you have to go home, and then you go do. No matter what, you always had to go home to take care of the dog. And I was like, yeah, I never looked at it like that, but you're absolutely correct. That is the center of your universe, because they can't let themselves out. They can't do the shit you want them to.
Yeah.
As you can tell, as this guy's bugging the hell out of me here. What is wrong with you, buddy? Oh, hold on. I know what you want. Give me 1 second here. I think he wants his little bed. So give me 1 second. So, what made you get into the G.I. Joe line and everything that you're doing right now?
Oh man, you're gonna love this. So I've always kind of liked G.I. Joe from afar, but I was afraid to commit because I understand what it is to delve in a hole. And once I get into something, I really go hard on it, right? So it's the very first G.I. Joe classified fig that I picked up was a one-off, and I figured that'd be the end of it. I picked up Pimp Daddy Destro. I was like, this is the coolest one-off piece to have. I wasn't really feeling the rest of the aesthetic of the first, when it first came out, because the weapons were just so spacey, so it was just so weird. I don't know if I'm feeling this. And then one day in the mall last year around Veterans Day at FYE, I saw Dusty. I was like, wait a minute, this is looking kind of accurate for a change. And it started getting military and childhood nostalgic at the same time. So it was just the right energy that hit me right there, because I started to think about my time in Iraq and my time as a kid, and then I said, you know what, I'm going to pick this up. And once I bit into that cookie, that was it. It was a wrap. I was buying everything.
All right. So I want to say something about that. Mm-hmm. In your Vanguard review that you did, mm-hmm. you spent like 20 minutes talking about why you went with the desert tan, the whole dusty, right? That was the video you did that.
Mhm.
And I know you kind of like apologized to everyone because you're like, this isn't, you kind of apologized about that, how you know, like, hey, you skip to this point because like the first 20 minutes really has nothing to do with it. I thought that was absolutely awesome. Like giving like the whole story of why, like how you ended up into not even the hobby, because you're obviously in the hobby, but giving that story, why it meant something to you or what it did for you when you saw it. That is what will bring people back to your channel to watch you. I mean, I know people make jokes about your laugh and that it keeps them engaged, but I think you said like 21 minutes. Like the first 21 minutes, you're talking about how it reminds you of being in the desert and the dusty. And I want to commend you because I thought that's awesome. That is someone just being very genuine with their stories, and it will keep people coming back. So don't stop doing stuff like that.
In a way, you kind of can't help it. Well, I mean, at least I can't, because the reason why is because I get weird, the weird comments
Yeah.
and pushback you get for stuff. Like somebody was getting upset that I liked the 60th anniversary Army infantry guys over the Valaverse infantry commando. And for me, the margin wasn't really that big. It was a very, like, by a split of the hair, difference in how much I like it. But I felt like I was taking a lot of heat for liking that more. And I was like, and they started to accuse me of being biased. And I'm like, I don't remember saying that I was unbiased. So the disclaimer.
You're like the first person that said, there's nothing wrong with being biased. Like I try and be as unbiased as possible when I'm trying to look at something, right? But you're like, yeah, I'm biased. I don't care.
Well, I mean, there's being objective, and then there's me having my preferences and what I in what I like, right? When you're describing, when I try to do a review, or if that's what that is, I try to be objective.
Yeah.
But when I try to explain why I like something more than something else, that's when the bias portion comes out, right? I let them know that I definitely feeling the way this uniform hits me is definitely different versus the way the uniform on the infantry commando hits me, because I've never been in a situation where I was wearing gray desert boots, and because it's gray desert boots, I just don't have that same love for it like I do with the boots, of the 60th anniversary infantry. So.
I think I really liked what you said, because there was something that I started thinking about, especially when all this drama came out about the Vanguard video that I did and stuff. And for me, it was kind of like, I do show a different enthusiasm for a G.I. Joe figure when I review it compared to a Valaverse figure. Or pretty much a lot like Mythic Legions or anything. But that's because I have this attachment to G.I. Joe. I have this love for G.I. Joe, but especially when it is reviewing a figure that is now a 6-inch figure compared to the 3.5-inch figure, 4-inch figure that I had as a kid, right? So there is a different enthusiasm, and there's bias towards the fact that I'm obviously going to like the character more. But what you said about people getting mad at you because you liked the G.I. Joe figure more than the Valaverse figure, that is as stupid as someone getting mad. There's as stupid as me getting mad at someone if they like the Vanguard more than the Vamp. Like, it doesn't. If that's what you like, then that's what you like. Especially, it's like you can like them both. I know I'm considered a total hater on it, but you can like both things.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you have to like everything about it. But I really like what you said about how it's okay to be biased towards a couple of things, but being objective when you're doing your reviews, yeah.
I mean, because as much as I love the 60th anniversary, it still has the problem, which I think I said in a lot of my videos, that it has the same problematic hands that Stalker and the rest of the ones that always seem to have that buck have. Like, their hands are in my opinion, are horrendous. For holding weapons, so I can't, do sexy sniper poses and stuff. But I still love it. But
That's
I
because
can still have criticism
a lot of them
towards
were
it.
made left-handed. And Corey, the old designer, he actually talked about it. He said, "I tried doing something different. I'll take full blame for that." So they have all these left-handed hands, but I agree, like they should really be. It was really odd when I did this figure here. I didn't even notice it. This McFarlane figure, not the greatest articulation, but the way he does his wrist joints are awesome. They can pose in any way because it kind of has like a ball socket, so it can completely move around. So it can move back and forth this way or up and down. So you can do the sniper pose. You can do all different types of poses. But I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying when it comes to that. But anyway, I don't know how we got on that.
The objectivity versus bias.
Yeah.
Like you could eat.
You are freezing up right now. You're super still. All right. Well, as of right now, let's see. Now you're coming. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Perfectly.
Okay. Yeah, you froze up completely.
What was the last thing I said? I'm sorry.
You started with the bias. Johnny says, "No." Oh man, I need a Darth Vader sound for that. No. This way, time I freeze up.
You mean you can be objectively you criticize something like, hey, this doesn't work.
You're kind of freezing up. I hate when you're freezing up again. So Johnny,
I think it's my internet, folks. I'm so sorry.
It's all right. It happens. I had issues where my live streams myself, I was having problems. Yeah, talk about fun there. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
no, I mean, like everyone's gonna have the things that they lean on that they love more. Things hit differently, And to make and here's the thing: people act like my initial take is gonna be my forever take. You're gonna fall out of love or fall in love with something you might not even like in the beginning, So, believe it or not, this is the one computer that that's never seen that at all in my house.
we all have phones. Like, I mean,
yeah, exactly.
I am so scared to open any of that type of stuff on a computer because I don't need viruses.
Yeah, that's you. I don't want computer.
I just use the phone. All right.
I don't want computer Adidas.
I was gonna say something. I can't remember now. So obviously you get in the military lines because of your background. Now, what else are you collecting right now? And I'm going to go back to the military stuff in a second.
I definitely wanted to buy GI Joe versions of the Mezco GI Joes, but that opened a whole other rabbit hole too. So now I'm picking up just Mezcos that look good, and
it's difficult, man.
Yeah.
The only Mezcos I have right now are the Joes. I did order that Joe, what is it called? The robot. It's not a GI Joe, but it's a.
I know from Ghost Machine. I know what you're talking about.
What it is?
Yeah. The
I can't think of it.
Junkyard Junk Joe or something. Yeah. The one that basically what's his name's writing? Jeff Johns. Jeff.
Oh, I have
Jeff
no
Johns.
idea. I know it's I think it's an Image comic.
Mm-hmm.
I did finally break down. I kept doing that whole thing of like, if I wait long enough, it will sell out, and I can't get it anyway, and it didn't, and I finally went. I'm gonna order this.
It looks good. I mean, not only that, I support the product because I love Jeff Johns' Ghost Machine stuff. It's actually pretty good.
So did you order that?
I did not yet, because at the time I wanted to make sure I had enough money for the Rattler.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? So
that was funny.
$300.
Yeah, about $350 after taxes, but oh well. And then I gotta wait. I'm like, all right, send it out. I'm like, you know what, how about I get my Dragonfly first?
That too. The problem is I didn't pay since I was late to the game. I had to play the scalper price for that bad boy. So
Oof.
yeah.
Yeah, you should have waited to find out if there's anyone else that has one that. Because now that you're doing videos and stuff, you'll start to find people that are willing. They may have an extra one that they'll sell you at cost or just a little above cost. Just remember that. There's something else I got to talk to you about.
The community. Yeah.
So what else? So you got a couple mezcos. So now you're starting to like mezco, and that's a slippery road to go down.
Yeah, it is very
slippery, expensive road.
Mm-hmm.
Lifeline will come, that's for sure. There's no doubt about that. I mean, they already have the buck ready. I mean, that Doc buck is just going to be reused. So what else are you collecting?
When it comes to Mythic Legion stuff, I just like knights. I'm not trying to get monsters or nothing like that. Just the knights. And
what is it about the knights?
I just like things with armor, bro. Like, ever since I was a kid, I loved Excalibur. That movie was so dope to me. And anytime I could replicate that kind of fighting going on in my mind, I'll definitely do it.
So what about like the NECA Dungeons and Dragons?
The reason it looks great, but the problem is I don't know if I'm a NECA fan, because aren't they like on a 7-inch scale kind of?
Oh yeah,
tip? Yeah. So
they're big.
Yeah. It's just I wish that their sizes were more towards 112, but I understand that that's their their niche. So, and it just
they're it's weird because like they don't bother me, but it bothers the fuck out of me that McFarlane are 7-inch figures.
I do collect a lot. Oh, I'm going to show you guys. Give me a second.
All right. So let's see. What is this here?
I love me some chibi Godzilla figs. I really love them. X Plus Garage Toy Kaijus. Yep.
So wait, what are those?
So this is from Godzilla -1.
Okay.
X Plus Garage Toy Godzilla. So basically the super deformed Godzillas I love. Yeah. These are kind of on the pricey tip for something as small as it is. Anywhere from $78 to $105 MSRP to begin with. I grew up loving kaijus. As a kid, I'm a big Godzilla fan. So
does it have articulation?
No, not at all. It's just a statue, a glorified mini statue.
So it's like a Super 7 Ultimate.
I would say, yeah. And I just love, in small, tiny,
The Checkpoint Alpha says, thank God you are not.
That's my problem. The problem, Checkpoint Alpha, is that I have completionist tendencies, bro. I really do.
So you collect those little things. You're trying to complete some Transformers, but you nitpick here and there, or you pick, and that's kind of what I do. There's certain lines that I go all in on, but like for me, Mythic Legions, I can just pick up the ones that I like. I don't feel like I am completely where I have to get every single one of them. Like a lot of people are. This guy right here. This guy has a huge Mythic Legions problem. And he would probably say I have a huge G.I. Joe problem. And he wouldn't be wrong, and nor am I wrong.
And believe me, if I had NFL athlete money or basketball athlete money, believe me, my entire mansion would be nothing but complete line of all of that stuff just because I could, you know.
Oh yeah.
So
All right, 1 second here.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Woody 222 says for Coco's internet, but seriously, my best friend is from the Philippines, so they are a bunch of chill motherfuckers in my book. And even though I have someone on, Woody automatically gets the because Woody loves the fart sounds, although he doesn't like that one.
I want the same kind of space that Woody has. He has a nice setup.
Oh.
I want that huge table, you know, and shelf background.
Woody is he's on another level right now when it comes to 95 different Iron Grenadiers, I think, is what he's going to be getting between the Iron Grenadiers and the bats.
It's hardcore. That's commitment.
I don't even want to think about posing like 90 figures just for like one shot. Let alone put all my figures, which we obviously have one more than 95 figures, one more than 100 figures. It's something like 90. It's a crazy number. Him and I were talking about it. It's fucking crazy. But thank you, Woody, for the super chat. I do appreciate it. All right, so I think it's safe to say that G.I. Joe and is it Valiverse are
For sure.
two big lines right now.
I believe in the Bobby movement as far as supporting him doing his I gravitate towards third party stuff, which is why I'm an accessory 304. You know, I just like supporting, you know, adjacent, you know, G.I. Joe adjacent stuff too. You know what I mean? So
no,
just like with Transformers, I like Transformers.
His, you know, the Action Force figures, everything goes really well with G.I. Joe. There's no doubt about it. There is so much influence that is in the Action Force line that is directly taken from G.I. Joe. No matter what anyone says, you can see where it is. But at the same time, I know he's trying to create his own lore with those figures. So I know I was big into Valiverse or the Action Force because I wanted fill-in characters for my G.I. Joe. But now there's just so many G.I. Joe figures, I don't feel the need to purchase too many of the Action Force figures. But are you army building stuff? Because I see a lot of different pictures, but
well, anytime there's a troop builder kind of character, I have a tendency to buy, you know, multiples of. And there's some that I regret, like the Night Creepers. If I'd only known that the Night Creepers were so hard to keep standing properly.
How are you having a problem? Because I watched that video and I'm like, what? I got him like on 1 foot. I got him doing kicks and everything. I didn't have any problems posing him. He was one of the best figures of that line, of that wave.
The Night Creepers. I wish I had your experience on that because I'm looking at it and trying to feel it and trying to make them stand and do.
I was literally yelling.
Maybe it's just the angles.
I was literally yelling at your video when you were doing it. And then I went back and watched my video and I'm like, yep, I got him in all the poses. Like,
maybe it's just maybe me. And here's the thing, I really, really wanted them because as a kid I missed out on that, but I know I was aware of them and I wanted them because to me they're the closest thing to having Filipinos in the G.I. Joe line. This from the swords to the look. Like, you know what? This is what Filipino gosh damn pirates would look like in real life, I'd say, in G.I. Joe. So yeah. Am I picking up the run? Yes, I'm picking up the desert one. The desert. I needed a whip for Dusty. So I got it.
So you got the one from Joe Fest.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
That one, I messaged my buddy Greg and I was like, hey, I'm looking at this ramen. I'm looking at the Joe Fest exclusive. I'm like, you probably want to order it. And he was like, and then he ordered all the other tanks along with, he ordered 2 bread vans, all like he ordered the tank along with all the accessories for it. I'm like, he orders all the gridiron stuff. I'm like, you didn't need to order all of it. I just looked at that tank and was like, all right, this tank is worth it. Especially, I think it was what 140 at 140 shipped if you order the one from Joe Fest. I think I'm gonna end up kicking myself for not ordering that one, but
I went with that one because the likelihood of I think Classified ever getting a desert anything a tank was going to be slim in my book. I had a feeling that they're going to get a maybe a regular green tank at some point with the action figure, which is why I didn't end up getting the
I'm
ramen
interested
greens.
to see how that's going to play out because the Mobat is so much different than the Mauler. I mean, the Mobat was made for just one person to sit in the top. So, you know, if you do it differently, then you've made a completely different tank. And not that I have a problem with it, but a lot of people do. You know, so I'll be interested to see how that is. So you said you're really into the now. Do you prefer Valaverse over the Joes, or are you just?
Well, that's just it. I don't think about it that way. Because to me they're different. They scratch different itches for me.
Okay.
My nostalgia, my childhood nostalgia is scratched with GI Joes, and my military nostalgia gets scratched with, with the Valaverse stuff. Now,
Okay.
and again, the problem is, I change my mind all the time. Like some days I'm more in love with the GI Joe stuff, depending on the mood that I'm feeling that day, or some days I'm feeling
But you said you weren't a huge GI Joe fan growing up, so you don't have a huge connection to it.
No. I definitely was a Joe fan. I've definitely loved the cartoon. I don't remember. Did I ever say I wasn't a huge? I mean, I never bought.
I'm sorry. That's
I
what
didn't
I
collect.
meant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because when you're a kid, obviously the money's the funds are.
Yeah, that's true. So Blitz, he says.
But if I had a choice, I would.
Okay, but quickly, Blitz says, I think the feet are curved is why they aren't flat. Normally I would agree with you. Like I said, I didn't have any issues. The one of the most awful figures to stand is the Crimson Guard because he has those stupid toes. The females, the new Scarlet has it. Obviously, the original Cobra Commanders, they have that stupid toe that bends up. But I did not have an issue with that. But I know what you mean because it's the same feet that come in Storm Shadow. But I don't have an issue. I don't know. I don't. Again, I mean, it might just be the one that you had. Well, you have multiple ones. I don't know. I was just like, I didn't have a problem with it. But then I have to think back. I'm like, did I actually pose it? You do so many fucking things, you forget how many you did.
I know. I was trying. I imagined trying to do amazing stuff. Those are the kind of fantasies I had with that Night Creeper. I want to do the kind of posing that dude does when it comes to, And when I was failing at it, it was making me mad.
So Blitz says, he got frustrated and left the second one boxed. Yeah, I have 3. I don't have an issue with, and they're all standing.
I bought 3 too.
I know. And Tools of the Trade has jumped in here. All right, so I want to talk about the 3D printed stuff that you've gotten into because you've gone really, really hard on some of this stuff. That probably came off completely wrong. So let me just do it really quick here. And
Here comes the money.
oh, that's the wrong one.
That's what she said.
I learned that the gridiron stuff does really well on the channel. Not a lot of people buy it, so when you review it, it does well. And then I learned doing Arsenal and Pew Pews, they do well. And anything that is military, all either 3D printed or maybe not a container, but stuff for like Dr. Mindbender.
Just accessories in general.
Accessories, yeah. So, how did you end up getting into the gridiron stuff, and then the Arsenal of Pew Pews, and then Top Fun?
Okay, so let's start in the beginning, I guess. The gridiron stuff, because at the time I started collecting, they had a Christmas sale on Facebook, and the algorithm of the things that I was searching for, when you're in these Facebook, Joe collecting Facebook groups, all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, oh, I didn't know that this was a thing, and then before you know it, I jumped hard in a new rabbit hole, right? Oh, this would definitely make my grunt look more like the OG grunt, or stalker with their loadout look like an OG, stalker. So yeah, and then when I started getting into those, I also was like taken aback because I was like, dang, kind of pricey, So when the sale came about, I was like, all right, well, I'll take advantage while there's at least sale, while it's on sale, and that's how I got into the gridiron stuff. Now, to be fair, since I was pretty much new to the hobby in general, I didn't know that there was, that the gridiron stuff was the weapons were a little bit bigger than for 112, like slightly bigger than I think supposed to be for 112. I think it fits more of the NECA 7-inch figures. I'd say.
Oh, I think
for it's like.
I think you're thinking about the maybe some of the older stuff, because I have a bunch of stuff that Johnny sent me, and I thought it seems pretty big. The newer stuff is, and Johnny will probably jump in really soon and be like, "No, it is perfectly lined up." Because he is the biggest gridiron honk that you're ever going to meet. He's also friends with the owner, so.
Oh yeah.
So I think maybe you got some of the older stuff originally, because some of the stuff I agree it seemed kind of big, but like the newer stuff, like I don't know if you bought like anything like this.
Oh yeah.
Have you gotten this one?
I did not.
Oh man.
But I like the way it looks. Yeah.
All right. So Johnny says lots of the older stuff was made to fit with both. And I think that's a lot of what Johnny sent me. I think he sent it to me because it doesn't fit. Some of the stuff looks really good. I ended up again, this is on a.
They look great. I will not take that away from Gridiron. Oh. Their stuff is the best looking, detailed, and everything.
They have very few lines in them. And Arsenal of Pew Pews is really good too.
Yeah, those guys are those are my guys. I really love their stuff too.
Yeah, I really like Gabe. That's one of the brothers that owns it, and I just talked to him today about a couple things. So, so you got to the gridiron stuff. How did you start finding all this other stuff like Arsenal Pew Pews?
When you're in the Facebook groups, people are always showing pictures of like stuff, and then in this case, John from Top Fun Retro Toys 3D was sharing his stuff on either Legions of Valaverse or one of the groups, or I forget, but one of those groups. And I was like, oh, okay, let me see what he got over here. And I noticed that the prices were more affordable for troop building kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, I'll go with this, sure. And from there, I kind of build a relationship with him, back and forth, talking about stuff that I would like. And he made stuff for me. He made the XM 250 and the XM 7 because I said at the time they were going to make that the army infantry standard combat rifle and saw. So I said, you might get ahead of the curve and get on this before everybody else starts getting into it, so that you could get get ahead of the curve and start selling it before it starts to catch on. because at some point that will become the new M16 or M4. You know, that will be the. So if I figured if he get ahead of the curve, it would be a good idea to to be the guy who in front of it, and he made it. And from there, because he made that, I was like, anytime he's ever made anything, I just been kind of wanted to support him, and of course, anytime the Arsenal Pew Pews guys make stuff, I definitely.
Yeah, they've been dropping a whole bunch. Next, I talked to Gabe today, so hopefully we'll be having something coming down the pipe there too. I know I told John, because I reached out to John because of Krusty O'Crow, and so I've been talking with him, and I didn't ask him when he sent me the first box to get the cloth wrapped suppressor. And then you said it, and I'm like, I should have asked. So I asked about it afterwards. But I told him, I go, no one is doing this. It looks amazing. Get them out now. Because once, and this isn't a knock on Gridiron at all. Once Gridiron sees that people like it, they're going to do their version of it. And they're a much bigger, they are the standard of 3D printing with military stuff. There's no doubt about it. They are creating the best stuff. You pay for what you get, and it's like once they see it, they're gonna want a piece of it, and they should. Everyone should. It is such an awesome looking piece, and I don't have one yet. I just saw yours and a few other people, or I saw yours, and then a couple other people mentioned like you need to ask for one of those. And what he has coming next, I think is going to be. I mean, he's been posting it on his creative AKs. Like,
yeah,
I'm like, he showed that to me, and I was like, you need to make that.
Yeah.
I go, you need to make that because that is awesome. Because we all have these little 3D printed crates, but we just throw the weapons in there. To have one that is open and they're lined up like you would see in movies and stuff, that is exactly what people want.
Yes.
Johnny says Mark's actually considered it as I've talked to him, but it's not on the table at this time. Well,
Gridiron's winning right now with all their vehicle accessories. Nobody else is doing it, and they're doing it the best. Well, I mean, Pixis is doing stuff, but Gridiron's name is already kind of out there, so yeah, they're doing awesome stuff. So
I don't have any Pixis stuff. I've seen it, and I really like it because it's not over the top.
Yes,
it's very
subtle,
real worldish looking. There's the one. It's in one of the groups. It's the guy he put low light with like jeans on. He used the I think the Pixis doors and roof, and then the back end of it, he put like the Gridiron front on it, and I'm like, that looks awesome. That to me looks like a Jeep that someone would actually take out hunting, or they're going Bahaing. It's not over the top. It looks awesome. So you do some of these mix and matching, and you can get some awesome stuff out of it.
We live in a great time, bros. When you got options to do, to customize your vehicles with these kind of things, it's a win,
Aaron says, "What's up, Punk Cocoasmooth in the chat? Hope everyone is having a good night." And Mr. Mad Gus is jumping in. Okay, so this is what I wanted to talk to you about. I was watching one of your videos, and I was like, oh, stop it, stop. You were talking about you were reviewing, and you were talking about the price, and you weren't sure what the price was, and you were saying how like, well, this is kind of a homie's price, so I don't really know what they're gonna. It's no one's business what we end up paying from someone. Just remember that. Like, it's no one's business. We don't even need to bring it up. Like, this is what they're gonna charge you, or hey, I'm not sure what they're gonna charge you. Boom. I was like, stop. Because like you were saying about your job, that caused someone to be like, well, you only charge so and so this much, and you're like, oh, well, again, I like them. I like them. That's why I only charge them that much. Just remember that it's no one's business what we or anyone, whether it be Aaron, Christine, anyone. Like, some people pay different prices. Just remember that.
The problem is he didn't have a price set at all. If he had a set a price, I would have said, hey, this is how much it costs right there. But that's where I was confused. I didn't know. I wanted to be transparent. Like, I'm not sure what he's going to charge y'all.
No,
I know.
And believe me, I understand that, because I also get the comments like, well, how much does this cost? And you're like, I don't know, look it up. I didn't like I did. I don't know. I fully understand, but it's like, now doing this for a while, you hit, people, they've done it to my buddy Greg. They're like, well, so and so, you only charge so and so this much. Why are you telling me it's going to cost this much? And Greg's like, well, because that guy's bought a whole bunch of stuff off me, and I know he's good for it. But
I'm with you. I mean, like, normally I just guide everybody to Etsy or their perspective link store. And the problem with the gentleman that I bought that crate from, he didn't have nothing set. So I was like, oh, well, shoot, where the hell do I go with this? Because people are going to ask.
That does make it difficult. So I fully understand. So, all right. So the 3D printed stuff that you've been talking about, we've talked about Top Fun, Gridiron, and Arsenal Pew Pews. What other ones have you purchased and reviewed?
And the stuff from Anthanatos Unlimited. Now, from my understanding, and this is what I'm learning, is that he's not the designer. He just prints out stuff from people who are designers, like Don Metal Beef, and then there's a guy called Donmin Art, or I believe those are the two guys that are prolific out there whose stuff is being constantly printed out by other, I guess that those guys are the ones that allow these printers guys to print their stuff out. And I've just been buying it from Anthanatos Unlimited. And I've tried a couple of stuff from Demon Print, 3D. While I love the stuff that's coming out that Anthanatos prints out, the problem is I don't know how to paint. They look great, but I don't know how to paint. And I don't know if I'm in hot water with the Arsenal of Pew Pews guys, but I was like, hey, would you mind painting the stuff that I got from Anthanatos? Because I love the way you guys paint. I mean, I love their stuff too, but I'm like, but I also love their paint job. So I was like, if I send you some stuff, would you?
So I can tell you, I think their paint is top notch. Gridiron and Arsenal Pew Pews, they're on par. Gridiron, you get your removable magazines. You get a lot more. And Gabe has said, he goes, I don't want to do that. But I was talking to Gabe about the paint, and he goes, I love it. He goes, I just love it. It's really relaxing. So I just stop, and I spend hours just painting everything. And it looks, their paint job is, in my opinion, it's as good as Gridiron.
I'd say it's the best.
And I love what they're doing with putting the little Cobra logos on certain things. I reached out to him after I did a couple reviews, and I was like, hey, these figures are coming. Have weapons made, painted. And he's like, yep, we're already on certain ones. He's like, okay, I didn't think about that one. But he doesn't want to do anything like the OG weapons. Like Top Fun is doing the OG weapons, right? Well, he's doing some of the OG weapons.
Viper one nicely.
Yeah, well, he's supposed to be. I think he's supposed to be sending that out. He's supposed to be sending me, I think, one of each. So he has Spirit's weapon. He has the laser rifle. I forget what else he had. I know he has the Viper weapon, and I think that one's gonna people want that.
Yeah, I agree.
People want that because they have so many Vipers, and they just want that classic that classic
Like
weapon.
Yeah.
So Johnny says painting can be calming and therapeutic. Yeah, not for me. Not for me.
Yeah.
I painted this up and I was like, and then just putting the yellow on it. And I'm like, I hate this.
If I was good enough to paint, I would feel that he was correct. But what it would be, me doing it would be nothing but, gosh damn it, this is not the way I envision it.
No,
and I'd just be mad.
And then when they say they're using spray cans, I'm like, really? That's even more insulting to me. That they're using they call them rattle cans. I'm like, that's even more insulting to me. That I have like a paintbrush and I can't do it. And they're like, like,
yeah.
I hate you guys. Now let me
must
buy
have been taggers in their youth.
Yeah, that's exactly like. I hope you get arrested. I hope you get arrested for tagging those toys. But yeah, I've seen what you're doing, and again, it's very smart because there is a niche for it, and I had been telling people forever that gridiron stuff does so well for me, and most of it's not even mine. So much so that I know that the owner has said to Tony, "How is he getting all this? Because he doesn't buy that much." And he goes, "This is Buddy Greg's." He says it. Like, I'm surprised at how many people, like, I say it like in every video, like if it's not mine, that it's someone else.
Transparency, yeah.
But like they don't listen. Because I don't need. I mean, I had people tell me that I shouldn't be reviewing something I didn't buy. And I go, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Because all those people that review cars, they're not buying every car that they fucking review. Right? I mean, I can't like if I was reviewing something and didn't have it in hand, yeah, then you're just a jackass.
But it's easier to be more objective if you don't own it either. So
yeah. And then I had one person told me that I can't be objective if I've watched reviews before I've done it. I'm like, once again, do you really think the people that review cars haven't watched other reviewers review that car? Possibly. It sometimes helps you because it might be something you weren't looking at. And it's like, okay, I need to look at that because they talked about it and now I want to point it out. But
I have to admit, it's because of people like you and Bobby B and one of my other heroes, Bobby Skullface, that because you guys are fully honest about your takes on stuff, that it makes me feel comfortable to criticize something if it warrants criticism. You know what I mean? Because normally I'm the type of person who just want to post positivity vibes out there, but if it's wrong, then it's wrong. You know what I mean? If it's messed up, then it's messed up, and I just gotta live with the the backlash, moving forward on stuff.
Johnny, I take offense to this. Most people probably skip the intro of the video. I've done that on other videos. Oh, but not on mine. Okay. If anyone wants to skip my intros, they're about 2 minutes long. All right, just know this: they're always about two minutes long. So if you want to skip to the meat of it, just skip 2 minutes in. I watch the dial. I usually know it's about 2 minutes. All right. Once I start running over 2 minutes, I'm like, okay, I got to wrap this up pretty damn quickly. Frostbite here says it doesn't matter if you own the item or not. It's not a flex comp on what you own. It's a review. No, I agree.
Yeah.
And I've had people say it, and one guy was like a total dick about it, and I was like, that makes no sense because I have it in hand, I'm looking at it, and I'm reviewing and showing you what I'm seeing. And again, I'll go back to cars. Like all those people reviewing cars for Car and Trend and Motor Trend, or Car and Driver, Motor Trend, they're not buying the cars. They're getting in them and they're test driving them for a day or two. Do you get mad at them and go, you didn't buy that car, you can't review it?
Yeah. To me, it's just not nonsensical. I mean, because they should know that when it comes to people come to you for the integrity of a review, so you're low key responsible for making sure you're saving people money in case something is shit, you know. So
And I've always said, like, I don't want to influence someone to buy or not to buy something. But I do realize that technically that's kind of what I'm doing, but I'm not trying to persuade someone. I want someone to get a look at it. And again, my experience, as I always say, my experience doesn't mean that it's yours. But I'm not trying to influence someone to buy something or not to buy someone. I want to give them. And I think Bobby doesn't even say he does reviews. He's like he says, I never put review in anything. I don't review it. I just show you the figure. But he is reviewing it. I mean, he has his opinions. Frostbite says, I purposely make my video intros 10 seconds or less to make sure it's not annoying. I make the intro of the video it's 10 seconds. It's two different pictures and then a logo of mine. But my intro, I know people have tuned in for that for some really, really weird. I don't know. People enjoy watching me for some reason. And I appreciate it. Thank you guys all. Please tune in. Go watch the Predator video that I dropped after this. Gun Bunny Custom says, it's because those people are fucking idiots, Lawrence. You can't call people fucking idiots and then spell my name wrong, Gun Bunny. You can't spell my name wrong. Call other people idiots.
Dude, that last show you guys had with him, I was feeling it so hard, man. Yeah.
Oh, that was a great interview. I love doing this show. Like, this show is just it's easier than my Monday show because there's really no prep. I already know what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk you through everything. We're going to talk about your life, and we're going to have a hell of a conversation. I haven't had any bad ones yet, thank God. Where Monday, I do a lot of prep on Sunday. I spend a lot of time in this stupid chair.
So most of my close friends are veterans too. So when I brought up Gun Bunny's, story of how he did time to protect friends, we're like, do we have the same kind of makeup as this guy to do 6 hard years to, that was a topic of conversation, on a drive to LA. So yeah,
I gave you my answer. I ain't spending no time in prison. I'm fucking. Yeah. Hey, I'm as transparent as can be. All right. I'm objective and unbiased on that one. All right.
Yeah. So yeah, me and my friend were like, yeah, did you know that there was a difference between state and all of us? like, man, I hope I know, I hope I never put myself in no situation like that, man. Because I don't know if I'd be able to do that kind of time, man. Yeah.
80s toy, but this is very true. That most of the people hating just don't want you to succeed. Yeah, it's also funny where Gun Bunny also says he appreciates that. It is true. A lot of people don't. I was talking about it the other day on the fans only on Punk's Pit, where I pulled up. Was it on Punk? I think it was on Punk's Pit where I pulled up like certain things, and I'm like, look at the dislikes. And there's always like 3 dislikes on all my Joe videos. And I'm like, there's someone literally sitting here just hate watching my video.
Yeah, I get a couple of those.
There is we were going through this one through the catalog of Thursday with a Friend, right? All of this is a conversation. And there was almost a single dislike on every single one. And we're like, how can you dislike just having an interview with someone?
Man, they must hate you so much.
And clearly, like, if it was just one person, but the fact that it's all of them, it says that it's me, right? You obviously don't like me. The fact that you spend enough time to tune in long enough, whether it be for 2 seconds or for the 3 hours, to hit that dislike, like, don't you have better things to do with your time? I have a lot better things to do with my time than watch YouTubers I don't like. I don't watch TV shows I don't like because I have other things to do with my life. But thank you for the engagement. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't think they understand that every time they do that, it helps you out too.
Frostbite says, I love when someone gives me a thumbs down because it helps my channel out with engagement points. Joke's on you, douchebag. Absolutely. Absolutely true. It was actually on the 3POA when I used to watch them. They were talking about it, and they were talking about, hey, all you idiots that come in here and give us a thumbs down, or the people that come in here and will send me a super chat to tell me they hate me, thank you. Like, I can't imagine sending someone like a $2 super chat just to tell them that you don't like them. I can find better things to do with my money than give it to someone I don't like. I mean, you can tell people you don't like them without sending them money. But hey, you know what? Good for you. Johnny says, I dislike my own Thursday with a friend video.
That's a good thing. I think I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to hit dislike on my own video.
It's just because Johnny doesn't understand computers and stuff. Yeah, 80s Toy Boy. Thanks for the analytics, moron. We should do a whole video on that. So let me ask you, from this point on, like where do you see your channel going? Like, what do you want to do with your channel? Do you have any plans?
Man, I really didn't think that far about it. I was just happy to share the stuff that I got for other, kind of like Woody, like, hey, I was just, at the time I was thinking more along the lines of chronicling a time in my life when I was super enthusiastic about, 1/12 scale military action figures. Really, I never thought of myself as an internet personality or anything like that at all. Because the one of the problems is I come from a very strict conservative church situation, the kind of church situation where we don't celebrate holiday types, and that's why I never really thought of myself as somebody to put myself kind of out there, because I'm worried that the things that I say would negatively reflect on my church. But I got to start. So every time I put myself out there, I got to really think about what I say before I say it, because as a Christian now, I also represent them by default. So I got to make sure to put my best foot forward moving forward. That's why even in my own channel, you'll hear me say things like gosh darn and oh shit, or creative ways to swear without swearing kind of stuff. Because my natural tendency is to, my old life of, of swearing. So I didn't really think much of this through. And so I'm also hitting that kind of crisis point where, should I continue to be doing this, or not, because I don't know what it means to be a 46-year-old dude who's still doing, who's indulging way too hard on, these things, so.
But they make you happy, right?
At some point I'm supposed to, oh yeah, very much so. And believe me, I definitely love to be a father at some point, but I'd have to have a willing participant to get me to that.
Thank you for putting that in. So, thank you for putting that disclaimer in, that you need a willing participant.
One that actually wants to be with Coco. You know what I'm saying? So to do these things, and not take half of my money, and it's like.
All right, so quickly, if you're here, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button here, but go down in the description and go over and hit subscribe to Coco's. You jumped up from 772 subscribers to 781 since you started this show, since we started. So obviously some people have found you, and I guarantee you're going to like your stuff. But I think, and the reason why I asked, like, where you plan on taking your channel, or have you even thought about it? When I started doing this, I just started reviewing the G.I. Joe figures because I had the original O-rings. I really knew nothing about the hobby. I didn't know anything about the business. I didn't know about independent toy lines, and I didn't understand the drama that was going to become,
Yeah.
And again, if you have an opinion, you will be wrapped up in drama, because
Oh
if
my
you
God.
don't agree
Yeah.
with one person, then you're a, what was it, a ball gobbler of the other company. And it's like, I can like multiple brands, and I can dislike specific people, but still like their brand or whatever. Um, but you get wrapped up in drama. Now you're pretty good. You're pretty much on the even keel. But I've had to say thank you to some people that have stayed my friends, who have supported me and been like, thank you, because I know that you get heat for being associated with me. And a lot of them have told me, like, I told those guys to fuck off. So when I started, I was just reviewing and kind of comparing the classified figures to the O-ring. And that's when I really started noticing, like, how close, like, the inspiration that they took for the classified. And then I would review some other stuff. And I was telling you earlier, it was when Greg told me I could review the Valaverse figures, because it was always, they're the biggest pieces of shit figures ever, or they're the greatest figures ever. I'm like, they can't be. Right? There's got to be some middle ground.
Something in between, yeah.
Yeah. And when I started doing those, that's when people actually started following the channel, because people were finally seeing an objective review of the Action Force figures. And then obviously it just, when I made a conscious effort to talk into the camera so people would know who I am, it's listening to a lot of radio and learning that way. So I never planned on it. My original videos had like a 30-second, like the song that I play at the beginning, I played like 30 seconds of it. Well, come to find out, that can't be monetized. So I've gone through, and all those long ones, I've deleted the song. So now there's just going to be a video playing for 30 seconds with no sound. Not that anyone goes back and watches that stuff, because it's so horrendous. But I know, like, I never had any intention of, I didn't even know what monetized was. We were too busy telling our son, like, you cannot make money on YouTube. And now I'm like, remember all the shit we told you? Maybe we weren't exactly correct. You're not going to be Mr. Beast. You're not going to make millions of dollars, but you can make money to support. You can make money to support yourself, but you can make money to put back into the hobby, what you're doing, and how a little bit is better than none. So that's why I always ask people, like, hey, where do you want to take it from here? Because you're getting close to being, monetized. And I promise you, continuing to do this 3D printed stuff, you are, it's going to happen sooner rather than later, because just like looking at your videos, and especially the length of your videos, the length of your videos is where you're going to have the watch hours. That's where a lot of people have an issue. They're like, I don't have the watch hours. I'm like, dude, I got enough watch hours yesterday. The damn video was so long. So you haven't even looked into monetization or anything, or when you get to that point?
No, because honestly, I didn't think, I have a weird view of myself. Like, I don't think that, it's just weird. Like, I don't really think that I was popular enough to want to be listened to by anybody when I first did this at all, and also, again, the crisis of conscience, trying to figure out, what I put out in the, I think about these things, what I put out there. And believe me when I say, I came very close, my channel came very close to being something else. It really was, I really considered talking, to having a more conservative take on geekdom. And how to navigate things under those kind of, these kind of circumstances. But I also know that I don't know if I got that, if I'm ready for that kind of heat, to be honest. like the stuff that comes out of Nerdrotic and out of Geeks and Gamers and Ryan, those really unpopular but kind of popular takes, right? So it came very close to being that part, but the problem is I didn't know if I can combat the hate as much as well as they can. You know what I mean? That's so I decided maybe it's just a better idea to just keep it neutral, keep it, as friendly as I can, in general, because who knows? I don't know what I don't know where the laws of the land are going to be soon. I have a bad feeling for us in general, but because I've seen people get try to get, the cancel culture thing is still a kind of a big, deal. Yeah. And I have a feeling that I have very unpopular takes. So
I don't think it comes off.
So I figured out this.
You come off as very genuine. Like you're here to talk about something that you enjoy and you give your opinion. You do apologize a lot. I will say that. Like a lot of times you apologize for your opinion. And I know a lot of times I'm like, hey, I'm sorry about my opinion. And then people in the chat will be, or like in the comments will be like, don't apologize. I'm like, I didn't really apologize. They're just kind of words. Like I'm never going to apologize for what I said because, unless I'm getting personal with someone, which why would I go get personal with someone? I mean, we're talking about toys, I personally don't like certain people in this community. I just don't bother. I don't go into other people's chats and start shit with them. And I take my shots like anyone else. But if you're going to be doing this, I think, you have to have some pretty thick skin.
Yeah.
You have to have some pretty thick skin. Clint Jorgensen says, Punk, are you nervous? Are you nervous you could have a Shannon Sharp moment on these live streams? No, that is quite all right.
Oh man, when I heard about what happened last night with that, I was like, wow, poor Unc. Uncle Shay Shay.
Yeah, I don't. Is it even possible to accidentally go Facebook Live?
IG Live, yes, I think it is possible, and so yeah, you got to be very cognizant of what's happening with your phone.
Oh, I take it back. No, I take it. Yeah, it's possible to make the mistake, but when he first said like that he got hacked, like how is someone hacking you, and they just happen to hack you at the perfect time that you were doing what you were doing?
I'm thinking at the time because he doesn't know what IG. He said in general that he doesn't know nothing about IG Live because I don't think he said he's ever done an IG thing before. But I think what he decided is he felt he probably got hacked in the beginning, right? And then when he took the time to think about it, he's like, you know what? I need to take ownership of this, even if it, because how the hell do you hack? That's accusing somebody of, and then that might not be true. So just own up, so if you just own up to it,
Yeah, I haven't heard the audio of it.
I don't want to either.
I didn't say I didn't want to. I just said I haven't heard it yet. Because they make it sound like it got really bad. Which then makes you go, I wonder what he said.
Did he Forrest Gump?
Oh my god!
Yeah,
that is like one of the most disturbing parts of the movie when he walks out. He starts making the noise. Oh, your mom really loves you.
Oh, mom sure does care about your education.
Oh,
that's a good movie. Must have seen that movie over 50 times too back in the day.
I think that movie is done so well where. You have a lot of other movies where they try and Machine Man says he cried after sex.
I can believe it. Uncle Shay Shay had like 3 hip replacements, so you probably don't feel too good. Just saying.
Oh man. Shannon Sharp.
He's like what 50, 60. Yeah, I don't think.
Oh my god, like that's not that old. The guy's, I mean, the guy's in pretty damn good shape. All right, I'm sure he can have.
Oh no, with arthritic hips though, bro. That's my point. with 3 hip replacements.
So Shannon Sharp, Hall of Fame football player, one of the greatest tight ends of all time. He somehow hit the IG Live, Instagram Live. That's for you, Johnny. Johnny's probably like, what is IG? Instagram Live. And there was no video of him, from what I understand. Just you could hear him having sex. I'm assuming with a woman. Throughout the whole thing. I don't know how long it lasted. Yeah, he was a tight end.
That's what she said.
From what I'm assuming he was with a woman. That's my. No one saw, so we don't know for sure. But there's no reason not to think. Cheek clapping. All right. Unfortunately, Cocoasmooth does now have to go back to church after how we have completely soiled him. But
I only converted recently, the 2016.
Well, now you got to reconvert all over again. They're like, I saw you on that show. I saw who you went on with. All right. We've heard what he said about how he's going straight to hell in a first class ticket, but he doesn't care because all his friends are going to be there with him. So he thinks it's going to be really good. So, but no, again, to wrap it up, I think what you're doing is awesome. People really like what you're doing, and you may not be concerned or not concerned, but you may not think so. And I was the same way. Is that people find you to be very genuine, and that is what will make people enjoy your content and what makes people come back. I've had people in here literally tell me, you could review a ham sandwich and I'd watch it, which that became a running joke last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever we did last Punk's Pit, and they're like, yeah, and you need to review a ham sandwich. I just don't know if I can get myself to review a ham sandwich. I've thought about it and thought about how I would do it.
You'd have to make sure there's a lot of extra condiments.
Yeah.
You could review the condiments.
So, but I do want to say thank you for joining us. Tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, you guys can find me at Cocoasmooth the Casual Collector on YouTube and just Cocoasmooth on IG. One of the things that I forgot to tell you is back then, before I became the Casual Collector, I started off as Cocoasmooth the Vinyl Therapist, sharing Funko Pops. But then yeah,
you would not be on here.
So if you see 2 Cocoasmooth channels, that most likely be me too. So
you have different
in my previous.
So how do you review a Funko Pop? They don't move. You just go over the paint.
Oh no, it's just okay. The things I describe when I get it. Well, of course, it's a shorter video because you can't really do much. But one of the things that I would like, what I do is, because the stuff that I get, it really depends, right? Like I'm very big into the Asian stuff. So if you're a big fan of the 3 Kingdoms or Romance of the 3 Kingdoms and Chinese culture and that kind of stuff, these are the kind of stuff that I would, like to talk about, because I grew up watching kung fu movies and loved watching Chinese epic, combat movies in general, anything with the 3 Kingdoms. So if you're familiar with things like Dynasty Warriors, and on video games, that kind of thing, those are the kind of things that I like to focus on when I can highlight, stuff. But I stopped doing those videos because I've spent most of my time doing the Joe stuff. So it's pretty much a dead channel. But I'm saying if you're searching for me and you just happen to see my pop videos from before, that's because it's me.
Yeah, and
so.
I put descriptions to his Instagram and YouTube. Yeah, I put links to his Instagram and YouTube in the description. I did not put the pop one because I didn't know about that. But if you find it, I don't know if you still do anything on that.
No, not really. All my focus has been on casually collecting.
It takes a lot of time, and your videos are like 30 to 40 minutes long. They're long like mine, and I know how long that shit takes. And you're just like, wow. Sometimes even I think I went too long.
I mean, when because the opening stuff, you know, the unboxing takes time. So.
Yeah. Well, I saw when you did. So I watched when you did the unboxing of your Vanguard, and I was kind of laughing because you were like, wow, this is kind of hard to do. This is big. And you're like pulling shit out. And you're like,
struggle.
Yep. It's like I was like reliving, the PTSD all over again. Like, and not the PTSD of reviewing it, but trying to figure out, like, am I even going to have this in frame? Is the stuff out of frame? Where is all of this shit at? And then you're like pulling it all out. And it big. Was a lot. Yeah. It took.
I didn't realize that was the direction that episode was gonna be, because once you see that vehicle come in and you're like, this is a space eater, and if it doesn't feel special, then with how much space it's taken, it starts to resonate. What I envisioned that video was gonna be. I wanted to be joyful, but I was like, well, let's keep it real. This might not be as popular because it's taking too much real estate and real estate might be more premium than anything else. So if it doesn't function the way it's supposed to,
and that's my whole thing with the Vanguard when it comes to that. To me, it's there's so much that it's for that price, and I'm not even saying it's a bad price, but for $200, it is $200 after you include tax and everything. It has to either give me nostalgic feels or just knock my socks off. And it just didn't. And now maybe it does for other people. And again, that is perfectly fine. My opinion is not, your opinion. But I'm with you. Like, it is a space eater. And, again, it's not a $35 figure. Yeah. It is much more. And it's like, am I going to enjoy it that much? Checkpoint Alpha. Yeah, I know you get lots of hate. There's a few of us that get all kinds of hate. But hey, that's what happens when you put yourself up. You put yourself out on social media, you need to have some thick skin, or just don't read the comments ever. So, but people like you. Just, people like you. Not me, not so much. And if anyone ever starts giving you hate, just say, oh, Punk's the one that said it, and then they'll just head over and leave you alone. I'll get the nasty messages. And I'll be like, hey, it's a engagement. So hey,
I'm learning to embrace the hate. People like Gothix help me, watching her videos will help me understand that to embrace the struggle. So I'm at that phase where psychologically I'm getting used to the idea of unpopular takes and backlash for stuff soon. So
yep. So I'm gonna wrap it up. I do want to say one last thing. Have you and Mega J ever been in the same place at the same time?
Mega who?
You don't know who Mega J Retro is?
Mm-mm.
You just remind me of him. Like, you're looking everything. Right now, people are going, oh shit. Except he's got a big beard right now.
I wish I could grow.
But no, like, that's what I was gonna ask. So I know you went to San Diego Comic-Con. Before we wrap it up, you went to San Diego Comic-Con. Because you live in the area. How far away do you live?
From the Comic Con itself, you mean?
Yeah.
From the convention center.
you-
I'm 15 minutes away from downtown. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm in National City. Yeah.
All right, because my daughter, like I said, she just moved in the suburbs of San Diego. So, and then
What? Well, I'm sure you know.
I don't know.
There's ask her if it's the Filipino part, then I'll know exactly where she's from.
I'll find out from her this weekend. I'll ask her where she's at. I know I have it somewhere. What do you think? Well, not with it's just J's. There's just so many J's. It's hard. Tatsi's Coco J and Brick should connect. Well, Mega J lives in Canada, and Brick lives, I think, SF. So he's in San Francisco.
That's a far trek.
Yeah, I think. I could be wrong, but I thought he lived in SF. I'm surprised he's not here to tell me where he lives. But anyway, so my last question. You went to San Diego Comic-Con. Do you have any ambition to go to Joe Fest?
Is that the one in Georgia or the one in Texas? I forget.
Georgia. We don't talk about that one in Texas.
The other one. I'll probably. Yeah, sure. Sure. Why not? When is did they already have a date set for next year?
It is June 19th through the 23rd, I think.
I'm due to return to Georgia at some point in my life. I want to revisit all the places that I've ever been in. Georgia is one of those places for me because I went to OCS at Fort Benning, and so if it's anywhere near there, I'm sure it'll start to give me the feels again.
There is a military.
It's kind of weird. I gotta let you know something, bro. I didn't feel like I was in real America until I went to the South and joined the Army, because before then, California feels like a completely different place, and then when I go to places like Georgia and North Kakalaki and South, just the South in general, it's everything that so this is real America. That's what it feels like when I went to those places, and I'm like, yep, I understand now.
Let's see. So, okay. Oh no, Fort Benning's on the other side. It says it borders with Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is
Northern, further northeast where you're at.
Yeah. Augusta is, I think, towards the ocean. I don't know. I know.
I'm still down.
You have, honestly, it was one of the best times of one of the best weekends I've ever had.
I believe it.
Everyone that was there that's in the chat here, because you stay at most of the people stay at the hotel. So it's not like you have to drive to your hotel. You're just there. They don't care. You're shooting the shit till 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. Then you go to your hotel, you go to your room, and then you wake up and you come down. Boom, you're back at Joe Fest.
I'll hit the trifecta if I do. So yeah, I have to, because I've been to PowerCon, and I felt like I was the only straight guy there was in that con when I first went there. The first one, I was like, wait, oh my gosh, am I in the right convention? And then the next one was I went to the Transformers TF. I've been to both BotCon and a multitude of TF cons. This will be my first Joe, and then I hit the trifecta. He-Man, Transformers, and now G.I. Joe, and I think the circle is complete.
I think once you go to Joe Fest, you're gonna want to go every single year. Everyone was talking about that. I can't wait to next year. Like, everyone's leaving, and they're like, I can't wait to come back next year. So I'm trying to put that money aside, but Hasbro's like, no, we need to. No, I need to go to Joe Fest. No, we need this. We just charged you for this. And don't forget that Rattler's coming, right?
Yeah, and then we have to save up for the next year's SD. Next.
Well, then we have PulseCon tomorrow, so
I don't know how they're going to impress me, because Starduster was the one guy that that I really kind of wanted. That seemed like super, obscure.
Well, that's their exclusive. Because they have an exclusive for San Diego Comic-Con and then PulseCon. Now, in the past years, they've all associated with each other. This year, they have nothing to do with each other. I mean, Once a Man, Cobra Commander, and Starduster, they have nothing at all to do with each other. So, unless if they pull a switcheroony, which I don't think they're going to, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But, oh well, we'll see tomorrow. In just over 12 hours, they'll be showcasing everything. So, but I'm going to get out of here. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Go subscribe to his channel. Go subscribe to his Instagram. You'll actually find a much nicer version of me over there. And now you have gained 10 subs since you came on with me. Now just imagine if you went to a channel and did a live stream with someone that people liked. How many people might actually subscribe to your channel?
You guys are well. I don't care for those guys. I care about y'all. I care about you, Bobby B, and I think that's it. I don't know anybody else really of the bigger guys, right? There's the ones that you introduced me to by virtue of association. Like now I'm getting into the Aaron the toy enhancer and Woody and now
I love when I find someone and again, I'm not that I find, but I mention someone that maybe a lot of people don't, and then I see them in the chat, and now they're conversing with other people that I've got to know through here, and it's like that's awesome. Like seeing you jump in the chats now on Mondays, and you're chatting with the people, which tells me like you're not just there to be like, hey, look at me, I have a channel, come find me. You're actually there to chat and get to know the community. A lot of people, they don't get that. They haven't figured that out yet. They think that, hey, I need to go into a bigger channel just to help myself get bigger. Don't do that.
I never thought about things doing it that way. If I grow, it's because of my of my own, or because people like me, my merits, not because association. I mean, I'm happy that I got big guys like y'all, to give me push, but I never bank on that kind of support from
that. That's what a lot of people. That's how they try and do it, and you're just like, you're doing it all wrong. And that's not saying there's only one way to do it, but that's using people. And no matter what walk of life that is, that's always going to be wrong. So anyway, thank you for joining me. I definitely do appreciate it. Everyone, go over there, subscribe to his channel, subscribe to his Instagram. As for me, you can catch me this Monday, as always. Do you have any live streams you do?
No, I wish I did, but even if I did, I don't think I have nearly as much to say as you you do. or I'm afraid, no joke, that if I do go on live stream, I'm definitely gonna go into a whole other thing that has nothing to do with toys, but like stuff that'll just be very unpopular. I'm a red pill guy. I'm a manosphere guy, so I definitely have influence from that side of the interwebs, So the Andrew Tates of the world, the Kevin Samuels of the world, I definitely have more, that's those kind of views on things. So
anyway, thank you very much, everyone. I will see you guys on Monday, and go check out Cocoasmooth the Casual Collector. Goodbye.